Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This is the conclusion of the show, and you'll note when you go back to listen to the program, it's brought to you with limited commercial interruption thanks to our great sponsor, the fine folks at SVN, Southland Commercial, carltondean.com. Advice on commercial real estate, obviously income-producing properties, even off-market deals. Go give them a look, carltondean.com. Email the show if you want, jcs at 979 ESPNradio.com. Find me on Twitter at JCameronShow. The WTSM app works best for your mobile devices. That's a good thing. It's free. Use that for iPhone or Android. You can email the show if you want. It's jcs at 979 ESPNradio.com. I'm on Twitter at JCameronShow. I may have said that. And on YouTube, ESPN Tallahassee. Thanks for everybody watching on YouTube. Florida State, as you just heard, local sports center, on tonight against a team that really they had beat in LSU the last time out. Corner Pocket Watch Party again tonight at 7 o'clock for the game. If you are looking for a place to watch the game, no better place than the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. We'll see you out there at 7 o'clock. But the Noles taking on LSU. Cole Sands gets the start for Florida State, and obviously short leash if he's not right. This will be true for both teams as this is an elimination game. Pouchet pitching for LSU, who in conference play in the SEC wasn't very good. Teams hit it over 300 against him. Had a whip of over 1.6. Wasn't very good. And let's hope that level of competition that he struggled against, which is something that's akin to what he's facing tonight, once again proves to be too much. I hope, knock on wood. Even Sands, though, I would say wasn't very good in conference play either, so I'm sure LSU hitters are thinking something similar. You wonder, does this have the makings of a slugfest? It's hot. 90-something degrees, 98 degrees there currently with that heat wave that came in. It went from 83 to 98, over 100 on the heat index. I don't know if that will cause the ball to fly tonight at a TD Ameritrade. I don't know which way the wind's blowing. Really, that makes the biggest difference. But I think you could say if you were a betting man that you'd expect this to be a pretty high-scoring affair tonight.
Yeah, it's one of those type games where, I mean, okay, remember the Will Zierzow game and how that was the antithesis of what we expected because he threw a complete game shutout.
Two-hit complete game shutout, yes.
Right, yeah. You expected that game to be much like you expect tonight's game to
Rightfully
be.
Rightfully so. All the odds seem to be stacked in that favor, just looking at it logically. It doesn't mean you can't get a one-hit shutout, but, it's unlikely.
7-5, 8-6,
yeah,
something
that's what
along those lines. Yeah, and again, for me is even though I hear his conference numbers aren't that great, Pouchet, and he's, guys are hitting 300 off of him in conference play. You got to get through him. If you can get through him and the lineup sees the ball well tonight, you drive in the runs that you do, you move your runners over, you don't make any base running mistakes, and you can chase this guy off the mound, advantage us. Because what we've seen is the trend, and that's Florida State's pitching depth. The guys behind your top two, who are Holton and Parrish, you've got options. You've got Carp ready to go if Sands isn't able to get the job done tonight. Then you've got somebody like, I don't know, a Bird who can give you a couple innings, or even the aforementioned Zierzow who might be able to give you a couple innings, or Kwiatkowski, or Drew Carlton is put in.
Zierzow might be able to give you 9 innings, Tom. You just don't know, buddy.
Well, Drew Carlton is supposed to be able to give you 2 or 3 innings at a moment's notice. So you can patch this thing together. And it looks like the way LSU has stacked its pitching rotation, obviously the injury occurred to one of their starters on Monday night against Oregon State. You would figure that we are in a better position to handle what would be a high-scoring, affair in an elimination game.
I think both teams will put the bat on the ball tonight, and you better pick it up. When you get opportunities to get out, you just got to pick it up. And obviously that's the hope here. In the last game, the reason Florida State lost the game was, in fact, they didn't do that. In particular on a couple of plays. One that featured 3 errors that ultimately cost you the game, and one in which there's a wild pitch, and for whatever reason, you allow a runner to score from first. It's heartbreaking still. I hate to be a person who's just, again, piling on with the negative, because I actually think that this team's run at the end of the year has been very uplifting, and it's been fun to watch them play to their potential, and it's been fun to watch them show their guts and fight with their backs against the wall and win a lot of games, meaningful games, games that in the past they might not have won. They've shown some grit and determination and moxie, as I like to say, but they do have these foibles, these things that they have not been able to consistently get past or go without. I mean, it would just be nice to go without. So I would think in a close game against another good team like LSU, the one that you lost to because of those foibles, those aforementioned mistakes. That tonight it's imperative that when you do get outs, when you have tailor-made plays, you got to make them.
This is a pitcher that obviously, yes, we did see over the weekend for 2 2/3 innings. So there's familiarity there. It's a lefty, and it just seems to me that this lineup looks better against lefties of late, especially. The guy that I've honed in on and talked about, I know Cal Raleigh is much maligned for what happened in the first Florida State LSU game and the couple of mistakes he made in really big moments. But he's swinging the bat a hell of a lot better, and he lengthens that lineup in a way that we've talked about for most of the season. We thought this lineup could be murderer's row all the way down to about the 7 or the 8 spot. Well, the way he's swinging from the right side, I love it. I love it. It's a good flat plane. He's driving the ball to the power alleys. So you add that to the guys that you already know at the top of the lineup who are going to be there. And maybe a right-handed hitter in Quincy Neaporte, who we haven't talked a whole lot about in the postseason. He's going through a scuffle right now.
Yeah.
Maybe seeing a lefty is what the doctor ordered for him to snap out of it, because if he does, then all of a sudden, again, you're talking about a potential for an offensive lineup that if you're lucky enough to win tonight, you don't feel like you're without bullets going into the matchup against Oregon State for a matchup where you'd have to win twice within the span of about 28 hours.
Yeah, the best thing that Q has done for us lately against a left-handed hitter the other day in keeping the team alive was work a good at-bat and a walk.
Which maybe indicates he's starting to see the ball better. But certainly there have been a lot of meatballs that we've watched, and we've watched a lot of this baseball together down the stretch.
Fouling him back.
He's fouling him straight back.
Yeah, it's frustrating because you feel like he's on it, but he's not. He's just a little late, and he's had some struggles there to get around on those.
And I think the hard part of breaking down something like this, where we've talked about playoff series, pennant series, and World Series, and that's so much easier to break down because there's a familiarity.
There's a known.
It's a best of 7, and there's a consistency and the known commodities of what these teams are all about because you've watched them for a good portion of 162, and if you didn't get to see them a whole bunch, well, then you see them a bunch in the post. But for college baseball, I mean, everything is...
I've never seen this guy. They've never seen this guy?
Sure.
No idea.
Poche's pitched 2 2/3 against us on Saturday, but maybe that's not his best stuff.
I should say they have seen it, but not as a starter and as a guy. Right.
And that's not what I meant, but there's just this slot machine effect. You know about your own team. And then whatever the other guys roll out there, you don't know the trends, the ups and downs of their season, or if a guy is scuffling and his average says that he's hitting 216, well, maybe earlier in the year he was tearing the cover off the ball and he's just going through a horrible slump. But if he snaps out of it, he's a game changer for the Tigers. You just don't know these things. So it's hard to break down from a top to bottom standpoint the way you can a football game or a major league best of 7 series. But what we do know is that, guys like Drew Mendoza and Raleigh and Taylor Walls, they've had their ups and their downs, but they're there, and they're not afraid of the moment to bounce back. If they cost the team in a certain circumstance, they don't go into a shell. They fight out of it, and they put themselves in a position to, do something big for the team, and that's what they've done.
Happy summer solstice, buddy. Just thought I'd throw that in there for you. As folks all know, of course, the northern hemisphere will dip towards the sun, and we get to experience the longest day of the year, and the Earth spins on its tilted axis, and that 23.5-degree tilt is responsible for the seasons. And, hey, it'll be, after this, shorter and shorter from this point forward. And I like that we get less sun moving forward. I know that, to me, anyhow. I don't need it to be.
I'm personally disappointed because, this is the season to go walk a golf course, and you could, finish the show conceivably, and if there's nobody in front of me, I could hoof it and walk 18.
Yeah, except for it rains every single day.
But that's the problem. So what the hell? Yeah, sure, solstice, whatever. I mean, where is the sun? What is the sun? It looks like just like this plain soft white light bulb above us in the sky the last week.
I thought you should know, Tom, that it's a remarkable time for the sun. According to one article I read today, that on August 21st, the country will experience a total solar eclipse. The moon passes in front of the sun, casts a shadow on parts of the earth. The center line of the eclipse will cut through Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, and South Carolina for 2 minutes. What do you think of them apples?
I think that sounds like the opening remarks to a press conference in our nation's capital. It's a wonderful time for the sun. A tremendous time for the sun. Very happy for the sun. Good things coming for it.
I didn't want to ignore it. It's the summer solstice. which means actually tonight in the game out in Omaha, it'll be bright and sunny, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. There we'll be watching, and those guys are sweating their ass off out there. I do wonder, not about the summer solstice at all, that was sarcastic, but rather about the heat, 98 degrees out there today, over 100 on the heat index. I wonder, do we see shorter outings? Actually, this is for real. You do have to wonder how it's going to affect starting pitching. I think it's fair to bring it back home here and not in a weird way. That's true. It's hotter than hell. It was 83 degrees. You know what? The other day I was jealous of the people that are out there covering the tournament. And I've been out there, and it's a weird climate because when you're at the College World Series covering it, first of all, it's a strange assignment. Because on the one hand, you get out there eager to cover an event that's as unique as the College World Series. And then you feel like you've been there for months. And you're reminded that you are in Omaha, Nebraska. Which I'm sorry to the fine folks of Nebraska and the city of Omaha, but screw you. That is not where one wants to live. You can be there for, 3-4 days. Woo, pretty neat. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. After that, it's time to ride out. There ain't nothing. No, not living in Omaha. Not doing it. But the other part is it'll be 83 on a Monday and 105 on a Wednesday. It's bizarre. So I've been to the College World Series where it was unbearably hot, and when it's downright cold. It's a weird place this time of year, and I'm not a Omahayan, so I couldn't tell you the oddities on a regular basis, but I do know the College World Series is strange. You'll see people in coats, and then you'll turn around and see people ready to pass out in the stands.
Well, we're not playing a team from that willy-nilly Pacific Coast, or
I don't think they care at all. They're just going to keep kicking ass out there.
Let alone the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I mean,
so there's no temperature advantage here. You're playing guys from the swamps.
They're used to
LSU.
being in a swamp.
Like,
yeah.
hum, first and second one out.
Hottest jambalaya.
Ground ball to right side.
We just make everybody from Louisiana sound like dumbasses who can't speak and think about jambalaya at all times.
That's their play-by-play broadcast.
Sausage. Jeff Cameron, Show 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Neese Tire and Auto Service. Neese has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Neese Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Neese Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck, always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
If you don't need a phone, now in a store near you, Cricket Wireless, something to smile about.
Select phones or Samsung Galaxy AM2, Alcatel Street, ZT, Sonata 3, LG Fortune. For free phone and bill credit, must switch number and activate service on at least $30 per month plan with activation fee up to $25. Bill credit requires 2 service payments within 45 days. Credit received within 60 days. Taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See store for details.
Fire Betty's, the Fox and Stag, located in the Manor at Midtown in the heart of Midtown Tallahassee. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. Fire Betty's features newly refurbished vintage arcade games, a brand new food menu, and a summertime-only happy hour from 5 to 9. Thursday is hospitality night, live music on Friday nights from 9 till 1, and video DJs on Saturdays on the outside TVs. The Fox and Stag, Tallahassee's best craft bartenders, mixing up cocktails sourced with local ingredients. Wednesday night is ladies' night with free champagne from 9 till 11. For catering and private parties, give them a call at 727-8284.
Parker Brothers Roofing says don't play games with your roof. Protect your home and your family. The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. We'll fix your roof, 'cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
Hey, I'm Travis with Parker Brothers Roofing. Some roofers are like a bad boyfriend. They make lots of promises, but in reality, they're just cheap. They don't own up to their mistakes, and they leave you with a lot of regret. Parker Brothers Roofing stands behind every installation, and if a mistake is made, we own it and fix it. Our customers never have to worry about being left behind for the next job. At Parker Brothers, it's quality that builds our quantity. Call us at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
The City of Tallahassee Utilities, America's #1 public utility, says it's summertime, and summertime is the time to go green and save energy. Here are a few simple things you can do right now that will save energy while you try to keep out of the summer heat. First thing, get your air conditioner checked out and change your air filters. You'll be pleasantly surprised at how much energy and money you can save. Going away from home on vacation? Why not purchase a programmable thermostat to regulate your air conditioner while you're not at home? Talk about an investment that'll pay energy savings dividends. Make an appointment right away for a free energy audit from the City of Tallahassee Utilities. You never know how much energy you can save until you do it. The City of Tallahassee is offering insulation grants. Why not apply for one? Did you know that the City of Tallahassee offers loans to help with the purchase of solar water heaters? Visit talgov.com/YOU for information on loans and rebates. So stay cool, go green, and save energy all summer long. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities, America's #1 public utility.
Metro Deli in downtown Tallahassee congratulates FSU baseball on making the College World Series. Metro Deli, Tallahassee's perfect lunch spot, offering catering and delivery. MetroDeliTally.com. Go Noles!
This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Up. I feel like today should be a Friday. I feel that a lot these days. I don't know why. It's the summer. I think I'm trying to get to college football a little bit sooner. As much as, and listen, I love baseball, and I do. And, the Pirates are on a 2-game win streak, and the Noles are playing tonight in the College World Series. I got no reason to want to hasten that, but I think it's the Alabama effect. It just continues to loom large.
Yeah.
You know what? As a fact-finding mission more than anything else, I've actually removed the fandom aspect of this. I'm actually curious. I'm legitimately not real sure what to expect from this game. I think I'm confronted by feelings of dread. That's the fan, right? And then when I say that and I feel that, I think, well, just remove that now. Try to be objective. Try to look at it from a standpoint of you're just an observer of college football, or you're an Alabama fan. Like, if I were an Alabama fan, would I be nervous about this game? I think so, given what FSU defense is. So it just could be that both teams are kind of nervous because they're playing a giant in the sport, and therefore, if you just remove all of that, there are some unknowns, and I need to know where that offensive line is going to be, and I can't know that.
I think if you're an Alabama fan, you're thinking to yourself, we'll be fine no matter what the result is. But, yeah, they have my attention. Florida State has my attention.
Well,
for this one-off.
if you're an Alabama fan, you always think you're going to be fine, even though you know that's not necessarily true. See the game against Clemson. But, yeah, I mean.
Oh, I just mean from, you're talking about what's the end goal versus this one game. We'll be fine. This isn't for the national title. So, we'll be okay. If we lose it, then we could still bounce back, and we're Alabama. If we have 2 losses, we win the SEC, they're just going to put us in the Final Four, so it's not that big of a deal. For us, there's a refreshing element to it because I think we get to be the aggressor as fan bases here, and I don't mean that and being mean to your Alabama compatriot that's walking up to the stadium. I just mean we're the underdog here. You know what? Let's go see. Let's go see what it's all about. It's been a couple of years since we've been in that conversation, and is it our time to announce that we're back, that it's time?
I only ask that if, in fact, we are to hand Alabama a defeat, please adopt the same body language and tenor as our SEC rivals in embracing the supremacy of the ACC. I'd like to be an insufferable ACC supporter. Please just make sure you walk around and claim victory when Syracuse wins a random game. Make sure that you take credit for other teams in your conference despite caring not one iota about whether or not Wake Forest wins today. No, you have to project onto all the other conferences some value in that victory that goes above and beyond the reality of that situation. So if it were to happen, Alabama would have lost to another ACC team, back-to-back losses for Alabama to ACC teams. And, of course, Auburn lost to an ACC team. And, we did beat Ole Miss. And, just look through and you just get to that place where you recognize Georgia Tech did what they did to Georgia and we beat Florida. And basically you look all around the landscape and it's Clemson killing South Carolina and teams out of the ACC just taking over college football in a way that the SEC used to rule. And it's at that point you then should wave the flag proudly and pronounce for all to hear that the ACC will gladly accept your substandard for football and know what it is and understand from a superiority standpoint that you have a ways to go.
I just got a call from the office of John Swafford as you were talking. And
my check is in the mail.
I said, hello, and I just hear weeping. I love it so much. And then the phone clicked.
Tell Jeff I'll see him in July.
Yeah, exactly. I think the way to go about it, too, is to, if that does happen, we win that game at the new Atlanta Stadium and you're walking out and there's an Alabama fan with an earshot, just say to your fellow Noel that you went to the game with, oh, that was a great game. It's not the toughest one on the schedule this year, but this was a good warm-up because we do play Louisville, obviously, in October. And that Clemson game, they're the reigning champs. So we've got a long way to go. Hell, Miami in a couple weeks, and they're another ACC team. But this was a nice win tonight. We have a lot of tests in conference, though, and I think they're going to be greater ones than the one we face tonight.
Yeah, the win tonight is a good indicator that we're where we need to be once we start play in a superior conference. The win tonight suggests we're ready to meet the challenges of the best football conference in America. We beat the best of the second best conference in football, and that's a good feeling, but it's not enough to carry the day in the championship conference that is the ACC.
Yeah, I think that's the appropriate response to the SEC chants, which are for the simple. You go about it and you talk about it in a way that actually provides insight to those that may be walking around you as to what they're taking in, rather than just.
I think you could hug. You could say bless your heart. You could bless their hearts. That was something they held so dear to see it taken away. One fell swoop the way that it has over the last couple of years.
Well, sure.
That'd be tough.
It's akin to being in the stands for a World Cup match, and instead of chanting the 3 letters of our country, you can just, talk openly about the greatness in the 20th century that was, America's rise to prominence not only economically, but then as an enforcer in the
militarily,
world. And making sure that evil didn't take over the planet.
Yeah.
So
the ACC is akin to the United States rise globally?
Could be.
Is that what
yeah.
we may have a thesis. We could sit down here and
it could be that the improvement that this game's been long waiting for. The globalization of that sport within the construct of the 48 states.
I like where we're going with this.
Yeah.
Maybe you and I will do a 30 for 30 that only we produce and make for those to watch that follow the Jeff Cameron Show on YouTube.
What if I told you Northeastern elites would not care about college football until somebody other than a podunk conference took it over?
Once the educated brethren in the ACC took foothold of the football-dominated world. Yes, yeah.
What we didn't realize was that so many of these people on Wall Street were grads of the Virginias and Dukes and North Carolinas of the world, and not
soon,
the Kentuckys.
Thanks to the flagship program of our great conference, Florida State, they grabbed hold of the enthusiasm and the financial gains that could be had once dominated by the SEC. Yeah, that could be fun. It would create an interesting conversation, maybe around biscuits. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic, backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Club Cars Yamaha and the very cool Star EV carts. If you like the sound of that, you will love the sound of a 4-year warranty on loaded brand new carts, starting at just $49.99. Trade-ins are welcome, and TNT Supercenter is offering financing with 0 down, and when you buy a club car, 0% with approved credit, plus free delivery within a 50-mile radius. TNT Supercenter, US 19 South, next to Dairy Queen in Thomasville, and online at TNTSupercenter.com.
Look at that mouth. That poor, parched mouth. So dry. What'd you eat for lunch? Chalk dust? Did your mouth cannonball into a barrel of mothballs? You're being awfully quiet. Is that because your mouth feels like the business end of a Dremel saw? Is it because your mouth just wrote a haiku and all 17 syllables were dry heaves? You're so parched. You know it. I know it. The entire radio knows it. Just admit it. You want a Mountain Dew. Your mouth feels like it just inhaled the insides of a punching bag, and the only remedy is that neon green potion. Right now, your mouth could be tongue-bathing in the refreshing citrus kick of Mountain Dew. Instead, it feels like you've been motorboating King Tut's sarcophagus. Show some mercy. Crack open an ice-cold Mountain Dew. You know your mouth wants you to. Do the Dew.
Refreshment Services Pepsi announces that Kiana Redding has been chosen Employee of the Month. An accounts receivable specialist, Kiana's determination, dedication to her work, and outstanding performance reflect the true spirit of Pepsi. Congratulations, Kiana.
Hi everyone, this is Gabe Grass, founder of Grasslands Brewing Company. You and your friends are invited for a night of celebration at Grasslands Taproom on June 29th from 6 to 10 p.m. as we finally started brewing on our production system and we're ready to distribute our kegs to a bar or restaurant near you. There will be live music by Tuesday Supper Club on the Garages on Games patio, brewery tours, food pairings by St. Everest Sausage House, and of course, Grasslands core beers and special releases just for the occasion. It's because of you that we've come this far, and we're extremely thankful. Come celebrate with us on the 29th. Prost.
Due to an upturn in the economy, Main Street Business Loans has pre-approved the release of millions of dollars in small business funding. Your business may already be pre-approved to receive up to $250,000. We've sent out millions of pre-approval letters. We see the economy growing, and our underwriters believe now is the time to invest in your business so you can grow faster and make more money. And we're prepared to give you up to $250,000 to do it. Your funds can be available in 5 days. There are no application fees, no annual fees, just quick access to up to $250,000. If your business did not receive your approval letter to get up to $250,000, call Main Street Business Loans Approval Desk now.
800-509-2163. 800-509-2163. 800-509-2163. 800-509-2163.
If you weren't the owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
You know, I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be, a boat captain or a cowboy.
Do you know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. It's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Tallahassee Sports Center.
I'm Lee Gordon. It's time for some Seminole baseball. The Noles will play tonight in Omaha. It's the only game tonight in the College World Series. It's Florida State and LSU, a rematch of the first round series, but this one's an elimination game for both teams. The game will be seen on ESPN. The Noles trying to extend their season. If they do, they'll take on Oregon State on Friday afternoon. Last night in Omaha, it was TCU 4-1 over Texas A&M. The Aggie season has come to a close, and the Florida Gators continue to win. They have not lost yet in Omaha, a 5-1 winner over Louisville. So now, for the Florida Gators, they will play on Friday evening. They'll take on the winner of TCU and Louisville. NBA wheelings and dealings ahead of the draft on Thursday. Dwight Howard is on the move again. The Atlanta native has been traded by the Hawks to Charlotte, while the Lakers send D'Angelo Russell to the Brooklyn Nets.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
A couple of NFL notes. One of interest here involving Devonta Freeman. Did you see his quote? It's not necessarily salacious. It'll be made to be, or made out to be. He says if he had stayed in the game in the Super Bowl, he would have been the Super Bowl MVP. It's possible, sure. He sounds a little frustrated. You know, the Falcons have said post-Super Bowl blowing a 28-3 lead. You know, every time I say it aloud, it sounds like I'm poking at Atlanta fans and reminding them of the disgrace that was blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl in the third quarter. Fairly late. Because it's not that. It's more me astounded once again by the fact that they blew a 28 to. If you had just taken a knee, you know how sometimes we play that game and we do the whole thing where we go back and say, well, in retrospect, it's kind of like when Jean Van de Velde blew the British Open and then they went back with the Nike commercial, which was brilliant, and he used his putter off the tee to get down in 7, and he did, which would have won. He could have teed off with the putter, which he did in the commercial, and they followed it shot for shot, and he finished it in 7 strokes, which would have been good enough for him to win the British Open. That is remarkable, by the way. That's a cool idea, and the fact that he did it is even kind of cooler. But, of course, that's not how the world works. So I maintain that actually Atlanta at some point, maybe after the catch from Julio, it's not even like give the ball into the line, settle for your field goal. I mean, literally just take a knee from that point forward every time you touch the ball from that point on. Would they have won the game? Obviously, to run the clock down to the final second before each snap. Would they have won the game?
Well, it might have worked better than the way they did it, but I don't know about that. You know, if you're playing field position and all that kind of stuff, maybe. Depends on how well the punt does, Jeff.
Yeah. I think there's a possibility they could have just taken a knee. I'd like to go back. I will go back. You know what? I will do this. I will go back and find out the moment that it's 28-3 in the third quarter of February's Super Bowl, and I will go back and see if they had just taken a knee, would they have won the game? I'm not even talking about offensive philosophy. I'm saying just straight up take a knee.
You know, there was a Gatorade commercial years ago, and I forget the other moments, but I remember they show, Jordan's buzzer beater against the Cavs, and it goes out, and then they have, all the athletes
Cavs.
drinking.
Okay.
Yeah, the Cavs are celebrating. And there are like 4 or 5 other moments where something great doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen that
And
way.
they show the guys drinking, Gatorade, and then they make their shots and all that kind of stuff. It's about preparation and nonsense. But sure, I mean, there are moments when you think, what simple thing? Like, for example, up 28-3, how many first downs on a singular drive would it have taken for Atlanta to win the Super Bowl?
Right.
Two?
Maybe two.
Like two more first downs than they had.
Well, certainly kicking the field goal would have been able to. I mean, they could have just done that, right? Just run the ball in the middle and kick the field goal. Now, there's no guarantee he would have made it. Percentages based on the amount of kicks he's made from that distance and the amount of attempts say that he would have. But we don't know. The reason I bring this up is he made an appearance on SiriusXM with Brady Quinn and Bruce Murray, and meaning Devonta Freeman did. And he says that, had he remained in the game, and if the Falcons had held on to the 28-3 lead, which he believes they would have, he would have won the MVP, and it's bothering him. Quote, I hate to go there, but I'm supposed to be the MVP of this Super Bowl. But it's all good. We've got another chance. That doesn't sound like it's all good.
No, and I think this might be a salacious quote. It might be rightfully labeled as such because he's got a contract situation coming up.
Yes, he does.
And I think that's the secondary axe to grind here is, if I have the MVP performance and you leave me in the game and we win the Super Bowl, then my negotiating power goes to a place where how can you say no to me?
Well, and it was brought up that, hey, listen, Matt Ryan was having a pretty good game. He threw for 284 yards, 2 touchdowns in the loss. He could have gone on to throw for over 300 yards, et cetera, and he went on to say, I don't want to make this a competition thing with me and the quarterback. I'm just talking about based off that game. Let's say it like this. If I would have kept getting the ball, if I would have stayed in the game, I don't know why I got out of that game, actually, but if I would have stayed in the game, I would have been the MVP. I'm looking at my stats. I see the numbers. Those numbers don't lie. Look at my numbers. I would have been the MVP. Well, he got a problem with play calling. He's got a problem with a lot of things right there.
You have a problem with the quarterback instead of referring to him as Matt Ryan?
Well, the question was posed to him, and they used the name Matt Ryan.
Could have just said Matt. Or how about Ice? Because that's his nickname. He closes out games like they did in February.
I'm just saying, no, I don't think he's mad at Matt Ryan because Matt Ryan's not calling plays. I think he's got a problem with the play calling, and I think he's got a problem that they didn't feed him the rock on 11 carries, 75 yards, touchdown. He also had the 2 receptions for 46 yards. He's probably right. I mean, if they're milking clock, they're going to give him the ball. He's going to go over 100 yards rushing. He's going to have over 40 yards receiving. He's going to have a touchdown. He's probably going to be the MVP. But that said, I think it's interesting that that's the answer that he gives. That's the, they're frustrated. I've said that you don't easily recover from what happened to the Falcons. I know they'll all say the right things. They'll all say we got a good team. We got a chance to come back and maybe right or wrong. Good luck, man. 28-3, biggest choke job in the history of sports.
Well, there's that, and then there's the other recent example of how the Seahawks didn't come through and the Patriots win again, and how that locker room at the end was a very dysfunctional place in the immediate aftermath of the Super Bowl. And I remember seeing some of the post-game interviews. I forget the comments exactly, but I can recall being on the air and talking about it and saying, that doesn't sound like a functional relationship between players and coaches. How are they going to get through the offseason? And lo and behold, the Richard Sherman issue has been a big issue for them ever since then, and to the point where they were fielding offers for him not that long ago. And then there are reports as to why and what a kind of teammate he is and what has happened since, they didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch inside the 5-yard line. So I can imagine that. But given, again, that you're coming up to a contract year, for me, this tells me that maybe
he wants to get paid. Yeah.
But are they at an impasse?
Oh,
is he not getting his deal? Because why? Like this, what this serves to do is put more gasoline on the bridge.
Without question. And I would think that if you're a running back, I say this about running backs and linebackers specifically, almost more than any other position. Well, save for quarterback. That's always going to get paid. And Derek Carr is about to get $25 million per, according to one report, which if you have a franchise quarterback and he's revealed himself as such, which he has, you got to pay him, which means the Bucs need to get ready because yeah, they're going to have to pay James.
Well, yeah, and they got the Evans contract coming up after this season, so that's why they might be, $30, $35 million under the cap currently. They know what's coming.
Yeah, got to make those payments when you have those kinds of players. I don't have a problem when running backs say, I've outperformed my contract. I'm set to make $700,000 this year. I'm going to go ahead and need to get paid. I get it. Running backs burn out like that with the quickness, and it's a brutal, brutal game, and those guys get crushed. That's the only leverage they have. You have to do it.
I hear you, but I don't know that answering these questions in this manner helps to serve the negotiation process. You know what I mean?
No,
what that does, that burns a bridge with a lot of people that aren't just front office. Like, okay, so what happens next time that, I'm assuming Coleman's still under contract for next year because he's younger. So what happens the next time that they reports OTAs or minicamp or full-on training camp? I mean, how functional is that relationship?
Well,
you have a new offensive coordinator coming in. Is he posturing for the new offensive coordinator?
Well, Sarkisian, I don't know that he would need to. The numbers are the numbers. He's obviously a very good player.
But what I'm saying is in a time when clearly, his management team, Freeman's management team, and the front office are going toe-to-toe as to exactly how much Devonta is worth, is this really the thing that you want to put out there in the midst of those negotiations?
Well, let me do this then. Let's go on to say that this is what players do, and I think other players recognize it as negotiation ploys, and they don't take it personal. And here's an example. Greg Olsen, Carolina Panthers, has 2 years left on his deal. He still has 2 years left on his deal. And he was quoted as saying, as they get set for camp, I don't hesitate to say, if you look back the last 4 years at not only the statistics, but the consistency, the productivity, and the durability, all those things, there's nobody that can match what I've done and have done. That's just the reality of the situation. Now, whether or not they can be adjusted and reflected contractually to meet those numbers, we'll see. But the stats, well, the numbers, they speak for themselves, quote, unquote. He's got 2 years left on his deal, and he's like, I want to get paid.
Okay, that's great, but that's also, you got 2 years left? They can tell you to pound sand for 2 years and kill your career. Yes, you're collecting a paycheck, but you really want to do that?
Well, this is what all players do. Whether they have 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, this is how they go about the process of beginning to let the franchise know, I'm going to need more money. And this rubs fans the wrong way all the time, but it's the only leverage they have is to say, I won't play. I'm not coming to camp. Have a good day. That's all they got.
But if I'm not mistaken, he's already gotten his second contract. I can understand.
He's been in the league for a long time.
I mean, yes, he was on the team with my boy Trump, and I graduated high school back in 2005, but he played at the U at the same time as AJ.
But he became, but he's going to tell you he became the first tight end in NFL history to post 1,000-yard seasons 3 years in a row, and I'd like my money because he is. And that's, it's a matter of my productivity cannot be matched in the league, period, by anybody. I want more money.
You've gotten, this is, again, a unique circumstance. I'm not saying that Devonta is wrong to hold out. What I'm saying is, why sully any negotiation good faith that you have by taking shots about the Super Bowl loss that everybody's stinging about? Like, that's crazy to me. All that does is it breeds bad blood in the negotiating process.
Right.
You're asking for, unless you already know that Atlanta's not signing you and you got to play this year and walk, and you know that for a fact, then it makes sense. But
they have, maybe he sees this as a situation. Look, that's a two-headed monster in Atlanta. It's not just him. And he may see the writing on the wall. He may be saying, they're not going to pay me. Maybe he has indicators as such that they're not going to pay him. And he's just getting out in front. Yeah, I don't know what good comes out of that. I don't know I don't know that it sullies the relationship necessarily. I think players say stuff to the press all the time that, maybe on the surface you and I would look at it and go, what in the world? But I don't know that the franchise does. I think they just know players mouth off when they're just,
Just don't see that. Like, you could just hold out. And that's the end of it. Not report and say, release a statement saying.
Oh, why would Olsen do it? Why? Like what? This? All I'm saying is this is across the board. I mean, this goes on. Olsen is considered a great team guy. He's played in 80 straight games. He's proclaimed his love for the city of Charlotte and management and the franchise as a whole. And here he is on. They're on the cusp of starting up practice, and he's saying, "Well, I'm just saying, I put up some pretty amazing numbers. don't know whether or not the franchise can adjust to match those numbers from a salary situation.
I don't agree with that tact either, because you're a 2-14 team, and chances are you're going to need a lot, or whatever they were. Sorry, 5-11, whatever. Sorry, but they dropped off from being the number one seed, the toast of the NFL. The Cam Newton experiment works, and this is going to be a team built with that defense, those linebackers, that's going to play at a high level for a long time, and then they tank last year. And to me, if you have a long way to climb up the ladder and you got 2 years left on your deal and the team's got to shuffle around money for a winner, you really want to do that right now? Really? I mean, is that the wise play? Unless he sees – see, that leads me to ask the question, is there something that Greg sees, this ain't getting done here? We're not winning, so I might as well get paid.
He says, I'm the 7th highest paid tight end in football, and I'm the best tight end in football. And those two things do not match up. And I want my money. That's all he's saying. And he said, basically, we'd love to believe that from our end, we have a lot of ground to stand on. It takes two to really get something like this accomplished, though. We'll see how things go this summer. That's the rest of the quote. So he's clearly laying the groundwork. But all these guys do that now, man.
Or I get it, and the teams will screw you over, and there's no doubt about that.
In 2 seconds, they don't give a damn.
I go back to the famous example, and you agree with the team's tact in this particular circumstance, but Keenan McCardell was in a contract year.
Right.
And if he was told by Gruden and Bruce Allen that if you play and we do what we need to do, we're going to take care of you. They win the Super Bowl, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
So,
it's a brutal business.
It is a brutal business.
And that's why I'm an all-pro player, though. See, I think players certainly know that now, and they're not going to fool around and worry about people's feelings or anything else when it comes to negotiations. They're going to start, certainly the public campaign, to put pressure on the franchise in any way they deem that it'll work out on their behalf. So they'll say things like, well, look, man, I'm on my way to the MVP of the Super Bowl. If the franchise, if the coaches don't screw it up, I'm your guy, and now you don't want to pay me?
But you see how there's another layer to that, though?
I do.
You report back to work. Let's say you get your deal. What does the coaching staff think of you? What does your locker room think of you in that moment?
I think the coaching staff thinks I can use this guy to win games. I think it's that cut and dry. It's just cold-blooded. Because coaches, I'm quite sure, have had a great fondness for any number of players whom the franchise decided we're not going to pay. And they've thought, well, that's just the business, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, what are you going to do, quit?
How much does camaraderie count for in the NFL then? There's an underlying question.
I think that they're able to, from what we can tell when we watch these kinds of shows, Hard Knocks and the like, every time I see things like this, it occurs to me that players are able to very much separate whatever is happening in a negotiation between a player and a team, even if it involves statements that could rub you the wrong way as a teammate. I think they're able to go, yeah, you know what? He's just saying what he has to say. I think most teams just kind of look at it that way, like, let him do his thing. I'm going to come to work and do mine. I mean, I'm sure it'd be a little bit different. Like if Olsen came in and said something like, look, our offensive line just sucks, and I'm dealing with an inconsistent quarterback and a bum for a head coach. But here I am putting up numbers. Well, yes, I think they would take that personally, but he's not doing that. He's saying, I'm the most productive tight end the league's ever seen over the last 3 years, and yet I'm the 7th highest paid tight end. I got a problem with that, no matter how many years I have left on my contract. I'd like them to remedy that.
I hear that argument, but for the same reason you're saying that it's going to be really, really tough for that franchise, Atlanta, to come back from a 28-3 lead. And
I don't think they can. I don't think there's anything they can do.
But okay.
I don't.
But why? Because intangibles, like the intangible things, are real, right?
Oh, sure.
Well, he's not helping. You know what I mean? If I'm a Falcons family, this isn't helping, Devonta. I know you want your money. Hold out if you're going to hold out, but you don't need to be taking pot shots at the coaching staff in June.
Well, they fire that coach whom he's taking pot shots at. Their offensive coordinator got told to have a good day. He's no longer around.
Well, he took the job out in San Fran.
Well, whatever it was, he's gone. There was no chance for him to come back after that disaster. He had to take that job. It's time to ride, buddy. Sarkisian's not going to take that personally. Sarkisian's going to go, well, I got a weapon. I need to use it. I need to keep my job. That dude helps me do that. I don't know. Are there players on that team that would consider that to be a bit salacious and a bit too much for their maybe? I don't think it's that bad. He got asked a specific question. I think he's right. He would have won the MVP. I think he would have. He would have won the MVP So that's not an inaccurate statement. I think he was frustrated by the play calling. This gave him a chance to say that. And I think he's frustrated by the fact that he doesn't believe he's going to get paid. He wants to get paid now. He's a running back and careers are short, and he's saying, look, I've outperformed the contract. So in one fell swoop, by making this comment, yeah, I'm letting it all hang out.
After thoroughly vetting the process as either the player or the player's agent, to walk across the aisle for 1 second, if you're the front office, well, what do you do with him? You just let him play it out this year, and if he's great,
no, I don't
maybe.
Pay him.
Okay.
I don't pay him.
Right.
No. I root for Devonta Freeman because he went to Florida State, but I don't pay him if I'm Atlanta. I got another good running back.
Probably find another one soon.
Yeah, I will. I'll tell that kid to have a good day. I don't pay running backs, though. Don't come working for me if you're a running back. You can take it on down the road. Sorry, ass. You'll be out of this league in 2 years. There aren't too many running backs that last at all anymore. And then the ones that are the exceptions always turn out to be freaks of nature that you couldn't have predicted anyhow. Some dude's got 300 carries, tears his ACL, comes back in 2 months, not on the juice, quote unquote, and then breaks an NFL record. I can't guess that. That's an outlier. That's a crazy projection. I'd have let Adrian Peterson go. I'd just have a good day. Go beat your children on some other franchise's team. I'm not doing this.
Aside from that last comment, I would really like to see you just walk up to the dais, get an NFL's GM position, so you can introduce your philosophies, and then at some point when you're listing the bullets, these are my tenets, and this is what we're going to be about here at this organization.
I'm going to cut your ass.
And then, well, you get to
if you're a running back.
Bullet point 5. If you're a running back, don't call me.
Yeah.
You want any money at all?
Sympathy? It ain't happening.
No, don't come calling to me.
Play through a broken foot? That's good on you.
I'm not paying you. I'm not paying you.
Well, I'm saying these things behind closed doors. I'm certainly not standing at the dais telling people around the league that I will not pay them and that the first chance I get, I will screw them, in fact, in favor of another running back who's younger, even if by a year. No, I'm not saying that, but I also think that's how they operate.
If you're a guy on the street between the height of 5'6" and 5'11", and you think that the world is owed your services on Sundays, well, then you've come to the right place.
Yeah, come on down.
I'll pay you $150,000.
Yep, I'll give you $100.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
The league minimum is $400,000.
I'll give you
I will give you $400,000.
And the second that your hammy tightens up, get your playbook in here. It's time for you to take it on down the road. You can ice tub that bitch at your house. I'm not doing this. I'm bringing in the next guy. It's a league of mercenaries, man.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck, always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
So stay cool, go green, and save energy all summer long. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities, America's #1 public utility.
Hey, Wally Woodham here. In 1974, I set the national high school passing record at Leon High with 3,560 yards.
Jimmy Jordan here. Wally, I broke your passing record at Leon the very next year.
Well, Jimmy, in our 3 years together at FSU, I threw for 22 touchdown passes.
Wally, that's pretty good, but I had 39.
Well, Jimmy, look at the deal I got at AAA Transmission.
That's a pretty good deal, Wally. At least your car's a winner.
Don't put off your auto repairs. Stop in at AAA Transmission and ask for owner Tim Pridgeon, servicing Tallahassee for over 30 years. AAA Transmission, 1023 North Monroe Street, or call them at 222-2532.
Did you know that June is National Rose Month, National Camping Month, National Great Outdoors Month, and at TNT Supercenter in Thomasville, June is Make Your Own Golf Cart and Get It Delivered Free Month. This month at TNT Supercenter, with any golf cart purchase of at least $2,500, they will deliver your cart for free within a 50-mile radius of the store. And you'll also get $500 worth of free Mad Jacks accessories. Choose from hundreds of items in the Mad Jacks catalog, including rear seat kits, light kits, lift kits, wheels, tires, you name it, Mad Jacks has it. New carts, pre-owned carts, club cars, Yamaha, and the very cool Star EV carts. If you like the sound of that, you will love the sound of a 4-year warranty on loaded brand new carts, starting at just $49.99. Trade-ins are welcome, and TNT Supercenter is offering financing with 0 down, and when you buy a club car, 0% with approved credit, plus free delivery within a 50-mile radius. TNT Supercenter, US 19 South, next to Dairy Queen in Thomasville, and online at TNTSupercenter.com.
At the Home Depot, we're pouring more into paint, and right now, we're giving more to pros, as in gold status for the week, June 19th through the 25th. We're giving pros 20% off all pro-grade paints, stains, and primers from top brands like Behr and Kills. Savings like that you can take to the bank. Literally. Unbelievable quality, unbeatable prices, and for a limited time, gold status for pros at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Must enter Pro Extra phone number at checkout for discount.
Imagine tangy barbecue chicken and chipotle peppers, finely chopped on top of a flaky Ritz cracker, with melted shredded cheese and a slice of jalapeno on top. Yum! You've got Ritz barbecue chipotle pulled chicken toppers. Great for your summer backyard barbecues. And if you go to our website, you've got Ritz cracker recipes for any get-together. You've got the stuff to make life rich. Ritz. Life's rich. Visit ritzcrackers.com for more delicious recipes.
You're busy with work, kids, school, and many other things every day. Figuring out how to get a good deal on homeowners or auto insurance is the last thing you want to do. Go visit Stacy Maxwell, owner of Insurance One, to guide you in the right direction, as he's done for the past 30 years. He'll find you a great policy at an affordable price and make your day a little easier. Call Stacy at 671-5768. Visit them online at insuranceonefl.com or go see him at their new location, 1350 Market Street, Suite 200, right above the Pink Narcissus.
Go check out the brand new and recently remodeled Canal Street Crepe Company on Monroe, formerly known as Crepefine. Locally owned with Cru de Gras and open daily for breakfast at 7 a.m. all the way until 8 p.m., they proudly serve Lucky Goat coffee, along with espresso, cappuccinos, lattes, and more. Why not choose healthy breakfast, lunch, and dinner made just for you? Canal Street Crepe has just added soups, plus grab-and-go mason jar salads, along with a full line of Zapp's chips. Catering is available. Canal Street Crepe Company, 1304 North Monroe Street, or call them at 222-0378.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Tallahassee Sports Center.
I'm Lee Gordon. It's time for some Seminole baseball. The Noles will play tonight in Omaha. It's the only game tonight in the College World Series. It's Florida State and LSU, a rematch of the first round series, but this one's an elimination game for both teams. The game will be seen on ESPN. The Noles trying to extend their season. If they do, they'll take on Oregon State on Friday afternoon. Last night in Omaha, it was TCU 4-1 over Texas A&M. The Aggie season has come to a close, and the Florida Gators continue to win. They have not lost yet in Omaha, a 5-1 winner over Louisville. So now, for the Florida Gators, they will play on Friday evening. They'll take on the winner of TCU and Louisville. NBA wheelings and dealings ahead of the draft on Thursday. Dwight Howard is on the move again. The Atlanta native has been traded by the Hawks to Charlotte, while the Lakers send D'Angelo Russell to the Brooklyn Nets.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. We're the home team tonight. Hey, finally. Florida State, LSU, 7 o'clock rematch. You know, you lost the battle, but you could win the war here and send LSU home. That'd be nice. By the way, we're online at ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything. But, hey, if you miss stuff, it happens from time to time. Go get caught up. All 3 hours posted upon the conclusion of the program every day, both in iTunes as well as in our own audio vault. It's brought to you with limited commercial interruption thanks to our good friend Carlton Dean and the fine folks at SBN. Go learn about commercial real estate, income-producing properties, carltondean.com. Email the show if you like, jcs at 979espnradio.com. Find me on Twitter, at JCameronShow, WTSM app for mobile devices. And we're on YouTube. ESPN Tallahassee, they're on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Well, that was fun. We basically decided that I would never pay a running back. That's true. You know, somebody else said something about football related. I'll go back to FSU baseball momentarily. Did you see Warren Sapp's comments? The NFL, man, just steady taking hits from Hall of Famers. I keep saying this is going to happen over and over and over again, that this isn't going away, no matter what they do to try to ensure safety for the game of football. It's inherently very violent. That doesn't mean you shouldn't play. It doesn't mean that one ought not to choose to watch it, whatever, now that you're at least being open and honest in a way that the league wasn't for basically the entirety of its existence. Once it's out there, just the way NASCAR's out there, people know when you race in a car at 200 miles per hour and hit the wall, you could die. And as long as all parties get that, okay. So that's just the difference.
Feelings about who Warren Sapp is as a person aside.
Oof, it's hard to put those aside.
It is. He's a Hall of Famer, and a Hall of Famer has just said, you know.
Donating my brain, and I'm not real sure football's very safe.
Yeah, within, 7-8 years of retirement, I can't remember much, guys. I'm having a hard time remembering things about big pockets of my life.
And on a day-to-day basis, I have to use constant phone reminders to figure out what it was or is I'm going to do next. He's 44. Yes, that's a problem. And you're right, putting aside who he is, which is not a good person.
I gather there was a bleeding heart column down in Tampa Bay about it.
Well, what I do know is that he said
rags will be rags.
The reason that he is coming out and saying this is that the more time away from the game, and obviously the more problems he's having remembering things, but also the more he read about the connections between football, concussion, CTE, and suicide, and the more that in turn he read comments regarding from NFL owners and others involved in the game and their denials that the game of football and concussions, et cetera, lead to CTE, the more he felt like, quote, it's almost like big tobacco, like with cigarettes. They come out, later on in denial of, smoking causes cancer. And then he goes on to say, and in the NFL, they produce commercials, football is family. Well, when you're a family, you protect the baby. And he said he read quotes from Robert Kraft and other owners that you got to be kidding me. There's ample information from doctors and everybody else that has done the research on this that the sport is directly related to these concussions and CTE down the line and memory loss. And so stop denying that. Stop lying to us. Stop repeating those lies time and again and presenting them as a fact. It's not true. And he got mad about that and said for that reason he's going to come out and speak out now. And he's encouraging, and this is the other part where I say the NFL has a problem. He's reaching out to other Hall of Famers. He's reaching out to current players. He's reaching out to former players that aren't Hall of Famers and saying, we need to talk about this until they change their approach.
Well, of course, there's always going to be, the question, the fundamental question that lingers out there that the NFL doesn't want to answer. Is this something that can be avoided if you don't, by not playing football until a certain age, or know what I mean, waiting for brain development?
And that's what's being proposed right now. A lot of people are saying, and again, I think this is a fascinating thing. A lot of people who love the game, whose kids play the game, they played the game, have said that more and more they're realizing that perhaps during the brain's development, especially the early stages, that perhaps maybe it would be best just to teach kids the skill involved in football, teach them the skills such as you can learn in 7-on-7 and in flag football, etc., and then we don't throw on the pads and start hitting people until we get into high school. There's evidence that suggests that even that's not safe and that the developing brain in a male body goes until, 25, 26, 27 years old. But at least we'd be putting the kibosh on concussions suffered by, say, an 8-year-old. And I don't know the answer. Again, I'm not an expert, but it is something that you read about, and more players are now advocating.
Well, what the answer they don't want to get is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. If you play this at this speed with these size people and you have head-to-head collisions over the course of 16 games plus 4 preseason games, if you're lucky enough to play an average of 1 playoff game every 3 years over the course of a 6-year career, this is you. This is what's going to happen to you no matter what you do at the formative stages of your life. They don't want that question answered. But the NFL, they got it wrong for so many reasons, the obvious one being hiding information.
Money.
Yes, for money, for the benefit of money.
Yes.
But they would have been wise to just stand by, just from a PR perspective and from a legal defense perspective. You've been playing football your whole life. How are you going to come blame me, the guy that you played for, 7 or 8 years with, when you've been playing from, 8 years old all the way up until your last year in college? But you're going to say that I'm liable. The NFL is liable for lying, but what they should change the conversation to is, well, okay,
this could be caused by something that happened when you were 9, 10 years old. I have no idea. Yeah.
So how are you going to hold me with the check? That's not my problem that you weren't treated and diagnosed and you didn't go through the right protocols when you were 12 years old. That's not my problem. I'm sorry. Now, we do have a pension program, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
But they didn't, and it was a bad look for so long that they not only denied it, but they also denied their claims and everything else. They didn't look to protect them.
I hear you. That I'm talking about a pivot point, what they should have done, all of it, all together.
Sure. Okay.
You got to redirect the conversation to football being played as minors, football being played in high school, and what are the effects of those, of those collisions on the head versus the collisions of a fully grown adult on the head.
What they ought to do is just continue to take the information and the strides that have been made in the medical field. When we talk to people like Dr. Scott Burkhardt at TOC and the Concussion Center, like those guys don't deny that the sport is violent and that it can lead to players suffering from a concussion. But that the difference between now and back then is those concussions are acknowledged, diagnosed, looked after, treated, and that a player can't get back on the field unless they've passed the protocol. And that it's based in science. It's not some willy-nilly we think, this amount of time or that. No, we know what to look for. We know how to treat the injury the way we treat any other injury. If you break your arm, we don't just roll you back out there, some haphazard approach. We know it takes this much time to heal. Everybody's different. That's true of concussions, by the way. Everybody's different. You could play football for 10 years, never suffer a brain injury. I could play for 1 year and suffer 7. Nobody really knows that because we're built differently and our skulls are different and shaped different and all that kind of stuff. But the point is now that they have a protocol in place and a treatment in place and actual medicine that they can give one to help recover from an injury. Don't treat it like the boogeyman, but treat it rather as something that we acknowledge does happen in the game, but we treat you now. And so these long-term problems that these players of today are suffering, the players of the next generation will not suffer from. And that's why our game is safer than ever before. Now I'm being a PR guy, but that's what you say because it's rooted in what the medical science says now.
The question is, even if, let's say, if you have 2 or 3 knee injuries and you treat it and you rehab it, and then
you're going to have knee problems when you're 50.
Yeah. So what's the answer to that one? And I think that's the answer that the NFL is afraid to really get out in front of, or lead the charge in researching to see what the answer would be there. because that's how the billionaires lose the industry that they love.
But they won't do that. They won't do that. Billionaires will fight for that money-making product to their dying breath, and that means they've got to figure out a way to answer that question and to answer it in a way that obviously benefits them but isn't overtly biased. I don't know how other way to say it. I mean, they have to figure out how to make the game safe, which is hence the rules changes that they've adapted and decided upon and agreed upon.
Well, okay, cigarette companies is a good example, but they're still for sale, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
People can still buy them.
Yeah.
I think that was the solution that was first put out there when the concussion issue blew up a handful of years ago. Maybe we take the collision sports or the collision version of football out of the hands of local communities and say, the science backs it up, guys. You can't be putting 6 to 10-year-olds in pads, and I don't care if they're running 3 miles an hour. They can't collide into each other. That's just not what we're doing. We're not doing that until varsity high school, and you have to be 16 years old. I mean, set some sort of standard about when collision football is going to be allowed. And then at that point, you say, here you go. Now you understand the risks.
And you still want to play?
Either you sign the big proverbial waiver or you don't. But here are the risks. Surgeon General's warning, so to speak, of football.
Yeah, the same one you can see on a pack of cigarettes when you buy it.
I know from my own moral compass standpoint, I'd prefer if that were the case, because then I know
then
that
you
the
can
guys
say,
who
I'm
are
watching
playing
the guys who've made a decision.
Yes, rather than guys who are misled and guys who don't understand that when they're 13, 14 years old and they're getting into football, that there's a nuance to this, and maybe it's not the best decision for them over the course of 30 years, but they stick with football because it's the cool sport to play.
Warren Sapp went on to say, there's no way any of us want to admit that we can't remember how we get home or a grocery list the wife has given us or how to go pick up our kids at school, whatever it may be. You try to think I'm all right. I'm going to get a little more sleep. Maybe it's something I did last night. Maybe it's something that I drink. Try to find a reason that it's not my brain, that I'm deteriorating right before my eyes. He said that the threat of concussion-related health problems is serious enough to reduce the game's most physical, feared players to feeling helpless to deal with what they're battling. It's the most frightening feeling. It's also a weakening feeling because you feel like a child. It's hard to say I need help. I need somebody to help me find something that I could have found with my eyes closed in the dead of night, half asleep a few years ago. We can do something that we can never do in life. We can be in two places at one time. Our busts are in Canton. Our brains are in Boston. You're not going to need it anyhow. He's saying why he's given up his brain and why he's an advocate of this. I said, and this is part of a different discussion, that's not necessarily involved in what the NFL should have done or could be doing. I thought that this is where we were going, that you were going to continue to have these kinds of statements being made by players of impact, in this case a Hall of Famer, and that the more they learned and the more removed from the game they were, and the less fear they had of speaking out, that this would be the PR nightmare for the league. Because while there is an approach now that is a lot healthier and wiser to dealing with concussions and protective of players, it may very well be that even with that, there's still yet another wave or two of active players or those just retired that are going to come out with their story. And, all it takes is for that to impact the youth and the parents deciding whether or not those players, their kids, should play.
There are legends in the NFL game and in NFL lore that have already, fallen victim to brain-related injuries, and some from, yesteryear. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but guys you grew up watching, or certainly you saw their entire career, and I was a little kid when they were wrapping up their careers. Junior Seau was one of the first to bridge that gap towards the new generation. But yes, you're right. The NFL exploded onto the scene in a way unlike it ever had before, within the last 20 years. And so what stars from this era, when everybody knows who the NFL player and star is on their team, is versus when they knew the baseball player,
right,
in their market. Who are those guys going to be? And if more of them, because this is so out in the open, are speaking before, their speech is taken from them, then what's that message going to be?
Admitting that this is what their problem is on a day-to-day basis.
And you're going to follow them on their journey towards the grave, an early grave. Yeah, that's not exactly – you might want to be preparing for that right now if you were in the league office.
It's just weird. The league has made obviously adjustments to some extent they had to legally. They've been sued and they'll continue to get sued. But I don't know. Part of me wonders what they can do. I mean, I certainly would always suggest from a PR standpoint being more proactive. I mean, I think you have to take it head on. You have to embrace it. You have to understand that there's just sort of kind of willy-nilly approach to admitting that the game is dangerous and, what's the Heads Up campaign, I think it was, and all that. I mean, that's a step.
Yeah, the Play 60 initiatives, the Heads Up initiatives. I mean, the latter of the two is more about safety and protocols. But the idea that, hey, you can go out there and run with Cam Newton for, and they're putting a cartoon face on the product,
right.
And then you see the stark images of guys who are losing mobility and brain function as they get into their 50s. It's a nightmare that's ahead for the league, but the league has to, I think transparency is always the way to go. It seems like the harder route, but it's the easier route. If you were to say, protocols centers and concussion treatments like the ones that are here in Tallahassee at TOC, if you were to say, those are great protocols to treat the injury.
Yeah, and they're very important.
We cannot stop the long-term effects with the science that we have before us. But, maybe we can limit it. Maybe we can contain the impact as best as possible. But there are realities that if you're going to play in our league on Sundays and you're going to line up in the trenches, there are just effects that come with that, and that's why the price for those athletes is so high.
As John Gruden once said, football's not for everybody. Like if you take it and you own it and you do everything you can to help those who play the sport, who are your obviously your workers, then you protect them the best you can, and you provide and you admit that these are the dangers of the sport, and that's all the more reason that you want to be out in front of this. Great. I think people, from a PR standpoint, is all we're saying. I think people would feel better about football.
I liken it to two examples. One in sports, which is Steve Spurrier. I mean, in the 90s, who was hated more in this town than Steve Spurrier?
Sure.
And then you finally beat the guy, or you do repeatedly if he comes here to Tallahassee. And he says something akin to, well, they played better and they coached better. Like, you can't do anything with that.
What are you going to do?
Want to project, more anger.
Yeah.
Or if
that's right, we did.
You get in a fight with, spouse or girlfriend or significant
sorry.
other. I'm sorry, you were right. You're right. I was wrong. What can they do? Or if that's you and you were right and they say you were right, you can't do anything more. It's the end of the story.
Yeah, we're done.
So if the NFL says, you know what, previous administrations, commissioner groups, and league officials have decided to hide, but we're no longer going to hide from the fact that football is not for everyone. It's not the safest game in the world, but it's that risk that these people take that I think
endears them to you even more. I mean, they're the great gladiators of our time. We all recognize this, and as such, we want to be sure they understand the risks and what to do preventatively from a medicine standpoint and from a treatment standpoint. Yes.
And a bleeping story.
Yeah, we're done here. Because then, yeah. Well, and I think they're taking steps. It does seem to be baby steps in that direction. I think they should go all in, because what you want to do is ensure the public, the paying public who goes and watches your product, you want to ensure them that those players beating the bejesus out of each other right now for your entertainment are fully aware of the risks they're taking. And they have chosen to do so, aware of those risks for the monetary gain and the love of the sport. And that you don't have to question your own integrity as you sit back and watch this. Because that's what I'm talking about too. How every day we kind of skirt the questions about what it is we absolutely adore and embrace and watch and cover and talk about incessantly, despite also knowing that the league did that to its workers for a very, very long time. We don't like to have to look in the mirror and go, man, I'm kind of partly responsible for that dude being mushmouth at 40. Nobody wants to admit that. So if everybody embraces that and we move forward and sing Kumbaya and say, okay, well, everybody's aware, kill him, we can do so and feel good about it.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Now, to bring in the big catch of the day, visit them online at seaquartersmarina.com or call them at 850-697-8400.
If there's one thing the pros at Advance Auto know, it's parts.
Advance Auto Parts and Batteries, this is Dion. How can I help you?
Hey, Dion, I need an oil change.
What kind of oil do you need?
Conventional.
Well, we have a special on 5 quarts of Valvoline for $23.99.
Wow, that's a great deal.
It runs real clean. It protects against cold starts, heat, and wear.
Perfect.
Sign up for Speed Perks, and you can save even more.
Okay, will do.
Now at Advance Auto, get 5 quarts of Valvoline conventional motor oil and a Purelator filter for just $23.99. See store for details. Also at participating CarQuest Auto Parts stores.
Cricket has something epic for you. An adventure like no other. Starring free select 4G LTE smartphones when you switch, and a $50 bill credit even if you don't need a phone. Now in a store near you. Cricket Wireless. Something to smile about.
Select phones or Samsung Galaxy M2, Alcatel Streak, ZT, Sonata 3, LG Fortune. For free phone and bill credit, must switch number and activate service on at least $30 per month plan with activation fee up to $25. Bill credit requires 2 service payments within 45 days. Credit received within 60 days. Taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See store for details.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. How do I convey to you just how good the incentives and discounts are on America's fastest growing car company, Nissan? Seriously, please shop Kraft Nissan before you buy. No one has the incentives and low prices we have. Not Toyota, Chevy, Ford, Honda, or Hyundai. $5,800 in savings on Altima SR. Brand new automatic Frontier pickup starting at just $21,800. 0% interest for 72 months on our most popular models. Rebates up to $10,000 and no payments until football season. I'm telling you, in the over 30 years I've been in the car business, I've never seen such incentives and low prices. I've got pages and pages of special interest rates, rebates, and bonus cash. Kraft Nissan even has a factory rebate for any credit score under 625 drive to help you with your down payment. Here's the deal. Nissan is America's fastest growing car company, and they want to be number one, and they're buying market share. So please, before you buy, check out Kraft Nissan's exciting lineup of new vehicles. That's all I ask. Stop by Kraft Nissan and look. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco. Price includes dealer preparation charge.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Now, people would get upset if they take away Pop Warner football, but that's Warren Sapp's suggestion amongst other players. I remember at one time, Jimbo Fisher had mentioned that maybe we'd get to a place where we don't have kids, little kids playing, that they wouldn't put on the pads until they were in high school. That was Jimbo Fisher's comment. I don't know if he still believes that, still thinks that, still believes in that, but it was something he mentioned one time, and I thought that was eye-opening to have a coach say that. Head coach mentioned that. I don't know if that would help or not. It's certainly something that is being ballyhooed now, and that makes everybody cringe. Hell, I played Pop Warner football and loved it, and have great memories from it. And I know a lot of people listening now whose kids who play, and they get certainly taken aback by such a suggestion. But it is on the table as they continue to try to wrestle with these problems that seem to be fairly specific, at least currently, because it's the most popular sport to football. Yeah, I mean, it's not as if concussion issues don't exist in other sports. See soccer. I mean, we've read these reports where women's soccer has a terrible problem with concussions, and that you'd be shocked and dismayed to find what sports involving youth participation at a high rate have come with inherent high risk for concussion.
I think I asked you this a couple of months ago, but it's worth checking in on just to see, how your stance evolves over time. At what age would you be okay with Bryce and or Clark playing football? Would you be okay?
Yeah, well, here's the thing that I said, and I continue. This evolves, like you just noted. I continue to wrestle with it. They haven't asked to play, and so first and foremost, waiting for that day. I'm not going to force them to play, and frankly, I try to be as honest as I possibly can be on the air about these things. I would prefer they not play because I don't think that long term it's a game that they're going to be playing, say in college or something. So I'd rather them focus on something. We're talking about preferences. I'd rather them focus on something that I think they could thrive in and have a chance to excel at down the line. Bryce's demeanor, and he's tall and skinny, and I mean he could still glean something great from football, youth football, whatever it might be. But I think he's more suited to play baseball long term or golf or something else. My youngest, Clark is kind of a gruff kid, loves to hit and tackle and do those things, and has mentioned from the time he was 4 that he wants to tackle and someday play in pads. Now, if that comes up again, he's now just turned 7. Then I have a really tough decision to make, I think. But I was leaning towards not really being in favor of that. It's tough because I loved it. I played and I loved it, and I didn't suffer a concussion when I played. But I know kids who did, and at the time I don't think we thought anything of it because we didn't know the dangers long term of that. I guess I'm waffling here because I don't know. I haven't really decided on what. If Clark in earnest walked into my room and said, "Daddy, I want to play tackle football," then I'd have to seriously confront it. And I've wrestled with it. I've thought about it over the last year. I don't know. I'm uncomfortable. I can tell you that I'm uncomfortable with the notion.
Is there an age, though, that you would blanket say no?
Well, that's the other part of it, is further educating yourself the best you can. And I do have the good fortune of access to people who know a lot more than I do about the medical science involving this. And so I would do that. I would go about the process of trying to get all of the facts and educate myself before making a decision. That's the other reason I can't give you a definitive answer, is I haven't done that. I've talked in passing to Dr. Burkhart. I've talked to other doctors that I know who are in and around the game of football. Just ask a question over the course of a long conversation about what their stance is and what is the science of it. What do we know and what don't we know and what's still in question. That's the thing. It's ever evolving, and that's the hard part. We didn't know a lot of the things we know now even 5-7 years ago. And so even though in the moment the science can tell you, well, we think that if you wait till 12, they're going to be all right. And then 4 years later, you could find out, oh, no, we had it all wrong. There are now tests and studies that show that you ought not involve yourself in contact sports or football in this case till the age of 16. Well, hell. I mean, it changes all the time, and it's very difficult.
Okay. How do they like flag football? Because that was something that was introduced to me, bridging the gap between generations. Right around
flag football is growing in popularity. And my kids have played.
5th or 6th grade, and I had never heard of it before 5th or 6th grade, but it was something we played in PE. It was something that a PE teacher let us do. And I thought it was great at the time, but, there was always the element of, well, you're not playing real football here. We're playing flag football. But, I mean, my nieces and my nephews, the one that lives in Tampa and the 3 that live in Atlanta, and they love the game. And they don't know it any different because it's just part of what you do. It's in the rotation with, T-ball and coach pitch and baseball and soccer.
That's right.
Flag football is just part of that everyday rotation.
That's true for my kids.
That they've always known.
One thing I will say that I have thought about, and it's crazy because here I've spent a good amount of time over the years discrediting and noting the reputation that shouldn't be nearly as endearing as it was for as long as it was of Joe Paterno. But he was the one who brought up about if we want to fix this, we got to get back to perhaps changing the helmet, maybe not even using helmets. Because if you don't have a helmet on, you can't use it as a weapon, and you damn well learn how to tackle because you don't want to hit heads. And I'm thinking back to in my youth being, 8, 9, 10 years old playing tackle football with my buddies at Lake Vista in St. Petersburg, Florida, and we tackled the hell out of each other. But there are no headshots there because everybody's protective of their head. You come in and you tackle. You wrap up around the waist. You hit somebody with your shoulder in the ribs. Plenty of sticking going on and playing a man's game of football and all of that that's more realistic than a flag. But no heads are getting hit. And so, that's kind of interesting. I got a friend whose kids play rugby. Now, I know that professionally and certainly as you get older, there are plenty of concussions in rugby. But I don't know what that's like in youth football, if that's a protective thing where kids obviously learn how to wrap up and tackle.
Well, that's a major issue across the pond, too. And, I told you I was driving around on a Saturday morning, and I heard a report from over there, and they were doing a long-form story on the concussion issue in rugby, and you hear the same things. Those athletes, in the England's or Ireland's, member nations of the Six Nations tournament. That's what they were doing. And they're all saying essentially the same thing that you hear over here. Well, what do you want us to do? That's the sport.
Either
you're
play
not
or
going to
don't
let us play the sport anymore?
Right.
Because now it's not even a man's game anymore.
Well, no, you can't
that's what
ban
this was
it.
about.
Well, we get into affecting the integrity of the game, and I agree with that. I feel like that's a different discussion, yes. The football I like to watch is very violent, and it does involve people getting hit and hit hard and messages being sent and guys not able to get up and a lot of things that happen in that game that we all embrace and love. And when it becomes something other than that, or the integrity of the game is affected by the rules shifts, then I think the popularity of the sport decreases greatly if it's not already in the process of doing so.
Yeah, who's the face of Florida State's football team in 2017? At least the defense. But
Derwin James, obviously.
And why?
Well, you're going to say the ferocity with which he tackles, hits, and plays the game. Perhaps that's it. I just marvel, I mean this, as his versatility and athleticism. People shouldn't be able to run at that size and that speed the way that he does.
But there's no doubt the most attractive part to that athleticism
violent.
Is that he will lay you out. You're done.
But not in the same way that LaMarcus Joyner laid people out. Like, I felt like LaMarcus Joyner was a headhunter, and I admired him for it. But I felt like that guy might have taken liberties.
We don't know about upperclassman Derwin yet. I mean, we only got to see him for a couple of games last year.
I feel like Derwin will walk up and body slam you, which I got no problem with.
But now that he knows where to be, when to be, there were signs in his freshman season that
he plays with a great tenacity.
I mean, think about the big collision, the spring game that everybody talks about, and how he lays it. Well, there was the one where he forced the fumble, first of all, on the poor walk-on kid.
Oh, that poor kid.
I mean, that was a bit of a layout. And then the one with Akers is the one that I'm talking about.
But you loved both sides of that one.
Akers absorbs it and is able to still move a foot forward. But
that's a legal tackle.
But that's what people love. How often is that type of velocity going to be reached if you don't have helmets on for fear of your own safety,
I don't know the answer to that.
Reckless abandon doesn't exist anymore.
Well, but it did exist in the 40s, 50s, and they didn't hardly have helmets on, and they knocked the bejesus out of each other there. But they did it in a different way.
They did it at 3 miles an hour.
Well, They didn't slow themselves down. They just weren't the athletes of today. So I don't know would today's athletes slow themselves down, because those slow asses you see on film from the 40s are only slow because they hadn't evolved to be as fast, and it wasn't a year-round sport. But I don't think that they were half-stepping. I think they were trying to run as fast as they could and collide into one another. I mean, this has always been a problem. You know, when football first started, there was talk and even a governmental movement to ban the sport because it was considered to be too violent. And some people had died. Well, they weren't wearing helmets then. Those collisions did often lead to, in some cases, paralysis and even death. And that's why the thought was we need to get rid of this sport. But this has always been a problem. It will always be a problem in a violent sport that involves collisions. But I think that as long as you're embracing certain safety aspects and treatment and acknowledgement of its danger, and you don't hide, you don't hide from that, and you don't lie about it, moreover, which is what the league did for a very long time, which has created this problem, right, this distrust, then you'll be able to play the sport, just as they race cars and do things. I mean, look, when I watch regatta boat racing, I mean, those guys flip boats. People die every year in that damn sport. You watch guys on a motorcycle going 220 miles per hour on the curb, and their knees scraping the thing, and they flip and they go flying into the stands and shatter their neck. You're like, whoa, that's crazy. But you don't even feel that bad, save for your humanity comes through because a guy just died. But you realize they know the risks. They know the dangers. Nobody's hiding from it. It happens. As long as a league isn't undercutting and lying and cheating and stealing and doing those things, then I think, the game will be around. It just might be played by fewer people.
It would be like if the Hans device was more dangerous than NASCAR. It'll actually kill you. Yep. It doesn't help you.
And Jerry can't wait to get in that car. Well, God bless you, Jerry. Go do it, baby. Can't wait to see this race. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Homeless clients moving into their own homes and veterans in a rehousing program. In 2016, we helped 138 families, including 33 vets, rebuild their lives. For more information or to have your furniture picked up, call 224-ECHO. Call 224-ECHO.
You're busy with work, kids, school, and many other things every day. Figuring out how to get a good deal on homeowners or auto insurance is the last thing you want to do. Go visit Stacy Maxwell, owner of Insurance One, to guide you in the right direction, as he's done for the past 30 years. He'll find you a great policy at an affordable price and make your day a little easier. Call Stacy at 671-5768. Visit them online at insuranceonefl.com or go see him at their new location, 1350 Market Street, Suite 200, right above the Pink Narcissus.
Look at that mouth. That poor, parched mouth. So dry. What'd you eat for lunch? Chalk dust? Did your mouth cannonball into a barrel of mothballs? You're being awfully quiet. Is that because your mouth feels like the business end of a Dremel saw? Is it because your mouth just wrote a haiku and all 17 syllables were dry heaves? You're so parched. You know it. I know it. The entire radio knows it. Just admit it. You want a Mountain Dew. Your mouth feels like it just inhaled the insides of a punching bag, and the only remedy is that neon green potion. Right now, your mouth could be tongue bathing in the refreshing citrus kick of Mountain Dew. Instead, it feels like you've been motorboating King Tut's sarcophagus. Show some mercy. Crack open an ice cold Mountain Dew. You know your mouth wants you to. Do the Dew.
Refreshment Services Pepsi announces that Kiana Redding has been chosen Employee of the Month. An accounts receivable specialist, Kiana's determination, dedication to her work, and outstanding performance reflect the true spirit of Pepsi. Congratulations, Kiana.
Milwaukee and Cornerstone Tool & Fastener are nothing but heavy duty. M18 Fuel 2-tool combo kit for only $3.99. Add on Milwaukee M18 High Demand 9.0 battery and the TIC Tool Equipment Tracker for only $29.99. Milwaukee's 9.0 battery has up to 5 times more runtime than normal. The TIC Tracker has a 1-year runtime and tracks up to 100 feet in range. TIC tracks anything, survives everything. Cornerstone Tool & Fastener, 580-1200 or online at CTF.NU.
The perfect lunch spot. A nearly impossible find. Thankfully for Tallahassee, we have Metro Deli. A downtown gem for over 15 years, Metro Deli is locally owned and features the best deli meats, cheeses, breads, and ingredients in the city. Enjoy daily specials and soups, salads and wraps. There's something for everyone. Metro Deli offers online ordering for pickup or delivery and will cater your office breakfast or lunch too. Tallahassee's perfect lunch spot is Metro Deli. MetroDeliTally.com. That's MetroDeliTally.com.
Miller's Tree Service, we go out on a limb for you.
Hey, this is Clay Culpepper with Miller's Tree Service. Summertime is here and storm season is right around the corner. We offer free consultations with a certified arborist where we meet with you and advise you on which trees are healthy, diseased, dead, or ones that may need trimming or even removal.
Miller's Tree Service, we go out on a limb for you.
Give us a call at 894-TREE.
Did you know that June is National Rose Month, National Camping Month, National Great Outdoors Month, and at TNT Supercenter in Thomasville, June is Make Your Own Golf Cart and Get It Delivered Free Month. This month at TNT Supercenter, with any golf cart purchase of at least $2,500, they will deliver your cart for free within a 50-mile radius of the store, and you'll also get $500 worth of free Mad Jax accessories. Choose from hundreds of items in the Mad Jax catalog, including rear seat kits, light kits, lift kits, wheels, tires, you name it, Mad Jax has it. New carts, pre-owned carts, club cars, Yamaha, and the very cool Star EV carts. If you like the sound of that, you will love the sound of a 4-year warranty on loaded brand new carts, starting at just $49.99. Trade-ins are welcome, and TNT Supercenter is offering financing with 0 down, and when you buy a club car, 0% with approved credit, plus free delivery within a 50-mile radius. TNT Supercenter, US 19 South, next to Dairy Queen in Thomasville, and online at TNTSupercenter.com.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hello. That's a pretty good number, man. I'll note it in a moment. Sounder, sir, if you'd like.
Oh, yeah, Metro Deli.
Well done. Well, that's because we're about to bring up something with the College World Series. Of course, Florida State participates tonight in just over 2 hours. We'll be watching at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. This year's College World Series owns the 3rd best ratings ever and best since 2011, that according to ESPN. You know, we've talked at length that the quality of baseball in college in particular has gotten much better. I think it's, again, the deadening of the bats to be more aligned with what the reaction of a ball is that's hit by a wooden bat. And I think that the overall quality of play feels like it's better. I don't know. It's not empirically known yet. I haven't gone back and looked at studies as to do we see fewer errors, what's the range, all that other stuff that they do with advanced metrics. You can probably figure that out. But I do feel like the game is improved to resemble more of a major league game. Although these days I would tell you that perhaps that's not such a good thing because baseball finds itself in a bit of a crisis with the 3 true outcomes situation going on. I think the ball is put in play far more often in college baseball than it is pro baseball. There are far fewer people throwing 105 miles per hour and just striking everybody out.
That was the thing, I was sitting around at the aforementioned CP last night, trivia night on Tuesdays, and watching the Louisville, Florida game, and I'm thinking to myself, because we had this long discussion yesterday about all the rules, and it was a topic at the table for a while about what's wrong, how can you fix it, and
all that stuff.
Yeah, it might be lowering the mound or putting the mound further away from the plate by a foot or two, something like that.
You guys weren't discussing Johnny Depp's financial problems?
No.
Oh, good.
No,
good,
we
good.
weren't.
No, just
No. What? How much did he pay to shoot the ashes of somebody out of a cannon too? Something like that.
There's a lot of good stuff that we could get into. I actually read that story because I don't know. I'm intrigued by weird stuff like that. But anyhow,
he's a weird guy. No, but the idea that I was thinking of watching these College World Series, long-winded way of saying, you're right. There's a lot more action in college baseball, and if the sport is anywhere close to the quality, where I know that these aren't major leaguers. But if you can make a routine out, an actual routine out,
sure.
If you're pitching, like a normal pitcher would and approaching an at-bat the way a normal hitter would, and you're not rewarded for hitting something off the trademark by going 430 feet the way it was 10 years ago, well, then good. This actually might be a product that's worth watching, not just to me because I'm in a college baseball market and there are so few of those, but to more eyeballs. And I guess it's winning out in its own small way. I'm not saying that this is turning out like a 12 overnight or anything like that, but I guess more people who are tuning to it are saying, okay, well, this is at least something compelling to watch instead of the unwatchable product that so many thought it was for 20, 30 years.
To answer your question, sadly, I know this only because he was a great writer, but he was friends with Hunter S. Thompson.
Hunter S. Thompson, that's who it was.
Yeah. So he wasn't a nobody. I mean, if you're going to pay an exorbitant fee to shoot somebody's ashes out of a cannon, why not have it be Hunter S. Thompson?
But that was a big story a few months back, maybe last fall.
Bizarre thing, right? Yes, the story reads as follows. ESPN's College World Series viewership is off to a historic start with the first 6 games of the annual college baseball season ending championship finale, averaging a total live audience of nearly 1 million viewers. That's the audience for the 2017 College World Series is the highest since 2011, third best ever on record through 6 games. Additionally, this year's viewership is up 95% from last season's first 6 games, on pace to be the most streamed College World Series ever. Now, that I don't care about because people have only begun streaming rather recently, and that's something that ESPN does in a self-aggrandizing way to feel better about the fact that the cord cutters are streaming, and therefore they're on top of that now when they weren't on top of it at the time that they had to fire half their staff. Complete schedule and team results are coming. We'll know more as this goes on. The New Orleans market, by the way, does quite well. They've always loved LSU. That's a 14 local rating for LSU's first 2 games. A 14! I think it helped that they played Florida State and Oregon State.
Yeah, I agree. The traditional baseball markets, too. Gainesville, obviously, in the last, 10, 15 years has been a program of significance, and certainly the last 5, they've been better than us. But, Tallahassee and Florida State, this is 22 trips now to the College World Series, so you know that we're going to tune in droves, and Florida State fans that went to Dick Hauser when they were at undergrad, be they, living in Orlando or Tampa or Atlanta, they're going to tune in now. Yeah, I'm going to break some news for you that next year's streaming numbers are going to be an all-time record for ESPN.
And likely the year after.
2019 streaming records are going to be an all-time record.
They always sprinkle that in there, yeah.
But I think the product has something to do with it, too. Not just the fact that you have a lot of blue bloods, a lot of traditional teams. I mean, even Fullerton, going 4 straight 0-2 barbecues, they're still out there an awful lot, and they're a team from the late 90s, early 2000s that's a recognizable name
and won
in the
championships.
Sport. But I think the product has a lot to do with it, that people turn on the television or turn on ESPN and they stay on the channel. I think that has a lot to do with it, and I hope it continues moving forward.
After tonight, it won't, Tom. I don't think it's going to continue in the way that we're talking about, at least from a rating standpoint. By the way, Portland, Oregon, and those other markets in that area of Oregon State, a 2.1 rating. 7.1 local rating was the highest, was New Orleans by far. Louisville only a 2.8. And the reason I bring that up when I say I don't think it'll be sustained, tonight's ratings will be very good because it's LSU and Florida State at 7 o'clock. They'll do well there. Both markets will watch in droves. But the problem from there is that, okay, well, the winner of that, maybe Oregon State, LSU, Oregon State, Florida State will do well, but it's a 3 o'clock game on Friday. So I don't know how well that will do in the ratings. Is anybody going to, and again, this isn't a knock on these programs, and I'm not trying to be arrogant, but is anybody going to watch Louisville take on TCU tomorrow? I mean, I'm going to, but we're not the target audience. We're already in. I mean, Louisville and TCU, you're going to watch that tomorrow? Will the country watch that tomorrow? No. And then the winner moves on to face Florida, 8 o'clock. I don't know, man.
I think
you're going to see a decrease in some numbers here.
If it's Louisville, Florida, I'm going to watch that. Like, I might not even watch TCU, Louisville. No,
when I said that out loud, I could see the grimace.
Because I dread that TCU is going to win that game, and it's just going to be this ultimate moonwalk, cakewalk for Florida through its half.
You know what's funny is you feel the same as I do about TCU. Just blatant disrespect. Like, what the hell is that sorry-ass program doing out here? They shouldn't even be in this tournament.
They should be in the Pac-12 is where they should be.
Get your ass out there to the West Coast.
But what's interesting is, okay, I hear you that the New Orleans market is going to help bolster these ratings greatly. But LSU,
and we've done well too, yes.
But LSU did make the College World Series in 13 and 15.
No doubt. No, listen, it's not solely because of that. I just think that the desirable matchups, when we're talking about LSU, Florida State twice in this World Series, we're talking about Oregon State, who's the number one team in the country with only 4 losses, and a kind of salacious story surrounding it, going against LSU in the other game was a big deal as well. I just think it takes a sudden downturn when I'm telling you that tomorrow we got to watch Louisville and TCU. And or the other game is at 3 o'clock. Those aren't getting good ratings. And so this will take a bit of a downturn. But I don't mean that to sully the fact that 923,000 people have tuned in to the College World Series.
That's an NBA game. You know, they don't get great ratings for the NBA on a Tuesday night.
Why would they? Garbage. Insignificant game that matters not at all.
Think about that. That's pretty impressive for good old college baseball. I will say, hopefully there is a spark in the Tallahassee market numbers come Friday at 3 p.m. because if we win, that's the time slot that we would play.
Yeah.
There might be some programming shifting around if we're able to do what we need to do tonight.
And then there would be a real sense of nervousness that would follow. I said earlier, and I'll say again here, I'm not very concerned. It sounds strange to say. I know we face elimination, and I'm sure once the game starts and I'm watching these two play, I'll feel a sense of nervousness. I feel good about our chances tonight is the only reason I say that. But you win that game, well, now you're down to the final series to decide to go who's playing for the championship. I mean, you know, and as tall a task as it is to win 2 against Oregon State, and I will tell you now, if I were predicting it or betting it, I'm not saying we're going to do that. And I'm certainly not saying, you know, us or LSU are going to do that. But you are 2 games away from making it to the championship round if you win tonight.
Right. Don't go mess around.
You're two away.
If you win tonight, again, knock on wood, for those that think that we predetermine the outcomes by saying something on Tallahassee radio airwaves, and then you fool around and win the game on Friday, then you're going to vomit on Friday night into Saturday. Maybe because you didn't maintain, or maybe just because you're really nervous about what could be the most improbable through the harder bracket of runs for Florida State. And wouldn't it be so apropos, given the way the season finished compared to the way the first 3 quarters of it went?
Well, I would be on the verge of vomiting, but for a couple of reasons. A, because it would mean that, like you said, we are 1 game away. And, oh, by the way, when is that game going to be played if, in fact, we beat Oregon State in the first game after defeating LSU tonight in just a couple of hours? When would the third game, the final one, be played before we went to the championship series? Do you know? Because Friday is what you're saying, right?
Friday is when we would play Oregon State.
The first
game
time.
1. Yeah, Saturday, I don't know what time.
Would you play back-to-back days, or would you play Sunday?
You play Saturday because the best of 3 starts Monday, come hell or high water.
Well, you know, here's the problem with that, Tom. I'm going to be on a plane to Washington, D.C. on Saturday.
Hey, Cameron, traveling, the good karma.
Yeah, no, I won't be here. I need them to wait. I land in D.C. on Saturday around 4 o'clock, all right? Now, my wife might frown upon the fact that I would land in D.C.
My wife?
at 4 o'clock on a Saturday with the family to start a vacation in which we go to Baltimore and D.C., and we're doing historic stuff and museums and everything else in between, taking them to a baseball game, all that good time. Hun, can we pull over to a bar to get this vacation started? I've got to watch Florida State take on Oregon State. Now, she's an old too, so I'm thinking it can happen. My kids might,
But then, if you were to fool around and win that game, Hun,
On
Monday night
Monday,
and Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, you're going through how you're going to have to explain that.
I'm thinking about what I would do. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Because you can't turn it on in the hotel room and try to be quiet with the kids sleeping.
Oh, no, there's no being quiet. They can stay up, too. They don't have school the next day. They can stay the hell up and watch the game is what they can do. But I'm saying that's a toughie.
I hope that you are inconvenienced.
In such a quandary.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I very much hope that I'm having to, try to earn back points along the course of the vacation because I've spent the first part of it watching college baseball. I'd like to explain that away. It'd be good. Final hour forthcoming. Stay tuned.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck, always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Store in town has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachian Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
Professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
Hey, I'm Travis with Parker Brothers Roofing. Some roofers are like a bad boyfriend. They make lots of promises, but in reality, they're just cheap. They don't own up to their mistakes, and they leave you with a lot of regret. Parker Brothers Roofing stands behind every installation, and if a mistake is made, we own it and fix it. Our customers never have to worry about being left behind for the next job. At Parker Brothers, it's quality that builds our quantity. Call us at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
Get your weekend started right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Saturdays at 6 a.m. with Fishing Florida Radio. Listen to the three amigos, Boudreaux, Steve Chapman, and Captain Mike Ortega as they catch you up to speed on what's new and biting in the North Florida region. Big-time guests, celebrities, interviews, and 3 hours of the fishing info you need. Fishing Florida Radio is brought to you by Sea Quarters Marina off Highway 98 in Carabel. Sea Quarters Marina, your full-service marina, and presented by Hobbit American Grill, locally owned and operated since 1978.
Conor McGregor is going to get destroyed by Floyd Mayweather. That's not even a fight that should happen.
Are they just going to box?
That's what I read. It'll be over in 30 seconds.
I don't know. That McGregor, he's a crazy man.
It's tough. Who would you rather fight? Him, say Mike Tyson or Ronda Rousey, your boy Ndamukong Suh.
And damn you can.
Or, I don't know, China.
China.
Because she's a woman?
No, because she's dead. I can beat her.
That's true. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Tallahassee Sports Center.
I'm Lee Gordon. It's time for some Seminole baseball. The Noles will play tonight in Omaha. It's the only game tonight in the College World Series. It's Florida State and LSU, a rematch of the first round series, but this one's an elimination game for both teams. The game will be seen on ESPN. The Noles trying to extend their season. If they do, they'll take on Oregon State on Friday afternoon. Last night in Omaha, it was TCU 4-1 over Texas A&M. The Aggie season has come to a close, and the Florida Gators continue to win. They've not lost yet in Omaha, a 5-1 winner over Louisville. So now, for the Florida Gators, they will play on Friday evening. They'll take on the winner of TCU and Louisville. NBA wheelings and dealings ahead of the draft on Thursday. Dwight Howard is on the move again. The Atlanta native has been traded by the Hawks to Charlotte, while the Lakers send D'Angelo Russell to the Brooklyn Nets.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. A Ballsmick Wednesday edition of the program. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything, but if you miss something, hey, it's all right. I got you. All 3 hours going to be posted both on iTunes and in our own audio vault upon the conclusion of the show, and that will be done with limited commercial interruption thanks to our great sponsor, CarltonDean.com. He and the fine folks at Southland Commercial showing you ways, I should say, to make money in commercial real estate, off-market deals, all that good stuff. It's there, CarltonDean.com. Email the show if you like, JCS at 979 ESPNradio.com. On Twitter, it's at JCameronShow, WTSM app for your mobile devices. You can always watch the feed on YouTube. Hello, everybody there. Type in ESPN Tallahassee on YouTube, and you'll find us. You know, obviously tonight, in just a couple hours from now, Florida State's taking on LSU. A little rematch for that ass at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. We'll be there. Well, the game's in Omaha, but we'll be watching it at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. And I look forward to doing so, just as I look forward to providing for you in the second segment of this hour our conversation with Trey Jones, Florida State golf coach. He's in Omaha. He'll be watching the game. So he called in this morning. I sat down with him and talked to him for our show Beyond the Tips that runs tonight on Sirius XM at 9 o'clock. But that said, I thought we needed to get insight as to how Brooks Koepka landed at Florida State, different aspects of his game, Trey's thoughts on Brooks winning the U.S. Open, Brooks calling him before boarding a jet to take off from Erin Hills and saying to Trey that he loved him and thanked him for making him as mentally tough as he is. And just a good conversation. You'll hear that coming up in the second segment. I wanted you to know that we weren't ignoring Trey in the U.S. Open victory from Brooks. We'll get Brooks on down the line. You know what? I really respect what he did, calling off kind of the New York media tour. That's just not who he is. And he actually would have made, I'll just say this, I didn't say this to Trey, but he kind of implies it. He'd have made for a boring guest. That would not have gone over well. If all those things are about for an agency or an agent's dream is to build brand, is to build the sellability, marketability, whatever that Q score or whatever you want to call it is for those in the entertainment world, and it can make you more money if you show off facets of your personality that leads to certain endorsements, etc. But if that's not who you are, there's a lot of stress. It can make you look bad. It can ensure that you won't have opportunities down the line from certain companies, manufacturers, and things of that ilk. And if you're not comfortable with it and you find it to be a distraction, I think it's a hell of a thing, and it shows a level of humility to be able to say, I don't need to go on the various talk shows at night, whether that's Colbert or whatever show it is. I don't need to go on, do the New York Sirius XM tour and to be on every show that they provide on satellite radio. I don't need to go sit in with Howard Stern. This is not going to go well for me.
Yeah, if I were his marketing manager, what I'd be looking for is, especially if he wins another tournament, doesn't have to be a major this year. He's hitting a TaylorMade driver right now. So what I do is I call up TaylorMade and say, hey, do you want to have something that doesn't necessarily have Brooks speaking for 30 seconds for the spot,
but rather hammering a golf ball 400 yards with a 3-wood.
And then staring down the camera as though he's stealing its soul. Yeah. Now, there's a spot that might fit his strengths.
By the way. Yeah.
And that's not to say that Brooks isn't necessarily a good interview from a PGA reporter standpoint.
Right, he's fine. Yeah.
If you're asking him about the nuances of the round he just played or his thought process as he's
during it, yeah,
he'll give you great answers for that. But it's just from a human interest standpoint, he's not going to be I don't know, Phil Mickelson.
That's right.
He's not going to tap dance for you. He wants to work and he wants to win.
Are you saying Phil might be a little fake?
Oh,
are you saying that there is some shucking and jiving going on with old Phil?
All I'm saying is since Martha Stewart, has there not been, someone who's maybe evaded some tax issues and done so with a smile on their face and people just said, hey, well, that's just Phil,
It's a beautiful thing. Florida State, LSU, 7 o'clock tonight. We'll be there, Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, to watch the game being played in Omaha if the Noles are to win. Obviously, they're confronted with a rather dubious task, monumental at that, to beat Oregon State twice. But we'll got to get there first.
Footnote, that would be insider trading. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, that was insider trading, not tax evasion.
Insider trading.
Yes.
Knowing the fate of something before buying it. And then
that's right. Yes. But not tax evasion.
No, not tax evasion.
Not tax evasion at all. I have interviewed Tim Mickelson. I don't want that coming back to me in some way. Hey, your guy said my brother is evading taxes.
He was merely taking advice about, what a stock might do ahead of time and then buying the stock.
Yeah. While playing golf with a guy for $100,000 a hole, which, hey, if you make $14 million over the course of a month, you can do.
There it is.
That's on you, buddy. I don't have a problem with the gambler in Phil.
Oh, and he is. You say the word degenerate a lot and throw that around for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I believe...
Oh, no, he's all in.
He lives up to the billing.
I think, by the way, I don't know this, it's just you and I spitballing here. I think a lot of these guys, first of all, that's very unique to golf. This is less of a golf segment and more just us talking about the world of sports and the figures in the game that we all know and cover. Golfers are unique. It's not like I don't think basketball players, everybody's aware of what Michael Jordan was as a competitor and a gambler in all things. And people are aware of certain, obviously, to his great detriment, Pete Rose and others. But I've never seen a group of people who gamble more frequently about the littlest of things than golfers. On putts, on chips, on drives where they'll land, on distance, who outdrives who wins the hole, who wins the 9, who wins the match, who wins. Golfers gamble on everything. Caddies betting against caddies as to which one of their guys is closest to the pin from 250 out. All of that stuff, it's hilarious. The game lends itself to that.
Oh, it's ripe for it. And you know what? Honestly, it turns up the juices, too.
That's why they do it.
Exactly. It mirrors what you would be doing if you're playing in as close as possible, in tournament conditions. But I can tell you, man, even in high school and, using our parent-issued stipend for food after our practice.
Nicely played.
Yeah. We're saying, okay, well, here it is.
I bet you my 4-course meal.
Right. But we had a guy, he was the one on the team. He's like, all right, I'll play from the tees. You play from 200 out, and let's see who wins the hole. And that evens out. Because the guy could bomb.
Well, he was a beast. Yeah.
But sure, why not? And what does that do? When you're standing over the 8-footer to win the hole, all of a sudden your hands are a little bit less tense or less steady than they were about 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, it's a big damn deal at that point, right? Yeah. No, it's kind of funny that I just noticed it, and I noticed it too just from, once again, kind of being around that element, hearing guys talking about it, even in commercial breaks on the other shows on the PGA Tour Network, I crack up laughing. They're forever talking about what they bet earlier that day, what they bet a month ago when they ran into so-and-so, what they're going to bet the next time they see Jerry in, whatever course they're playing and all that.
Well, I mean, even in the post-game coverage of Brooks winning the U.S. Open over the weekend, they asked Bob, his dad, who had joined Golf Central and live from the U.S. Open, are you still getting strokes from him, and have you beaten him at any point? He goes, yeah, we'd played out in Vegas a couple of months ago, and he gave me 8 strokes, and I lightened his wallet for that. Because his dad apparently is a really, really good golfer.
His dad was a scratch golfer, self-taught, who won the club championship something like 7 or 8 years in a row until Brooks took it from him as a kid. Oh, I don't know if I'd be more teared up and happy or angry teared up in that situation. I'm winning the club championship every year, and my kid comes and takes my title.
I'd be happy because
it beats Larry taking your title. Sure.
I've got something he doesn't. I was a self-made man. You know what? You may have rose to prominence, but it was thanks to me making myself into what I am today.
That story is kind of amazing, and there is a lengthy article about it, so go find it if you'd like. But, yes, his dad taught himself how to swing because he worked like you did, like I did, at a golf course where he would give, basically he'd be a caddy or he'd be a cart guy and he'd watch these guys play, and he kind of wondered, how did you do that? I'd like to know how to do that. He'd watch a guy make a chip, and he'd ask him, well, what was your approach? What did you do? And then he'd go practice it to figure it out, and he kind of came up with his own thing. The funniest part about that is that Brooks, when he came into his own and figured out how to swing, he actually, he had a coach. And then he later on told his dad, you swing ridiculous. Let me show you some things to help you out here. But, that would probably only serve to screw the guy up if you corrected the weird way in which he had figured out how to swing a golf club.
Absolutely.
Because all that matters is here to here when the club hits the ball.
Yeah, it's like learning how to solve a calculus problem without an abacus
right.
or even a calculator. It's like, I
figured out how to do this.
I figured out how to do it. It's like, no, you punch into these,
This is what you do here, yeah. No, you wouldn't want to do that.
If you were a betting man and I said the line is FSU baseball over LSU baseball minus 1.5 runs, what would you say?
I wouldn't do that. I would take LSU plus the 1.5. Ooh. I like Florida State to win a 1-run game tonight. I think we're all going to be nervous, but I do like Florida State's chances. I've reiterated this throughout the afternoon. Listen, this goes back to the other night. I liked where their head was at going into the College World Series. I hated for them that one really dubious, I guess you could say 2 dubious plays cost them so dearly. And it's heartbreaking that happened because right now they'd be sitting there with an opportunity in the winner's bracket to move on to the finals. And it's really hard to think of a way that's going to happen now. Anybody that falls into this loser's bracket within the first 2 games played sees the chances of that happening really greatly minimized. And so for that reason, I'm not as optimistic about the long-term opportunities for Florida State to win this thing. But if you're asking me about where I think their head's at for coming off the ropes there, coming off the canvas and fighting back and giving themselves a chance to play to be in the finals, of which they'll have to take 2 from Oregon State, I like their chances. They've been fighters all year long, and they have shown a lot of punch. So, yeah.
What I've realized in the last couple of weeks is this is the first time I've ever been on the air with you for a College World Series because in 12 they were there and you were on sabbatical, so to speak. And when they were there in 2010, well, I was a fill-in guy. So we might have been talking about the College World Series, but we never talked about it on the air. And it's just so different to cover. They didn't even make it when I was on the beat and I could travel. In those years they didn't make it. So, the idea that it's a one-off game and it's a pitcher that you don't really see that often because it's not the major leagues and you don't know that it's going to be Matt Cain and that's who the third starter for the Giants is and you're going to play them in a circumstance.
Well, I wish Matt Cain was starting tonight.
Sure,
his ass
or Roark apparently. But it's not like that. It's just a one-off game with so many more variables than the professional version of baseball.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, how we do
a
pregame show for, Alabama, Florida State, and we're going to do that on Labor Day weekend. Well, you could talk about segments and players and groups
and
project
and things. Yeah.
Right. With this, it's what the hell? You're going to play a baseball game. We know what our lineup is. We know what our guys are, but it's really hard to project what we're going to do from a matchup standpoint against an LSU lineup. It's just with Sands on the mound. He's never pitched against them. You know what I mean?
Well, and the chance that he gets lit up, it's there. Sure, it could happen. I mean, and then if your pitcher doesn't give you a fighting chance, you can't win. So I know that early in this game is very important. I'll just say that. I like our chances to score some runs, scratch some runs across tonight. But I don't know what Sands is going to be. And that has me concerned. Because I think the real test here is in the first 3 innings. What's he got? What's he looking like out there? How quickly do we have to go talk to him and deal with that and go to Carp or anything like that? I think first 2-3 innings here, give me the first 2. If he's settled in and pitches well through the first 2 innings, all right, let's go play ball. I feel good. That's the biggest fear any fan, any player, teammate, coach has, is in the game of baseball, the one guy that has the ball in every play defensively is your pitcher. What's he do? Where's his head at? Does he pitch well? If he doesn't, you lose. You get tattooed, you get behind the 8 ball. Tough to beat good teams when that happens. We've seen it happen in these, listen, that kid for Sam Houston State, they never had a chance.
No, they never had a chance.
Never had a chance. So you just that's the hard part.
We were not going to stop scoring on that night. Yeah, let's just not have that happen to us.
It's heartbreaking. Trey Jones joined us earlier today from Omaha, in fact, to talk about his former player's big win, Brooks Koepka. That's next.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Features newly refurbished vintage arcade games, a brand new food menu, and a summertime-only happy hour from 5 to 9. Thursday is hospitality night, live music on Friday nights from 9 till 1, and video DJs on Saturdays on the outside TVs. The Fox and Stag, Tallahassee's best craft bartenders, mixing up cocktails sourced with local ingredients. Wednesday night is ladies' night with free champagne from 9 till 11. For catering and private parties, give them a call at 727-8284.
Wonder what the outrageously energizing experience of Mountain Dew Kickstart is like? Well, it's like a combo of 3 awesome things. Dew, juice, and caffeine, rebooting your entire personal operating system.
Mountain Dew Kickstart is in position for consumption. All systems cleared for launch. Initiate launch sequence. T-minus 3, 2, 1, mark. Release the Mountain Dew Kickstart. Mountain Dew Kickstart released. Experiencing a charge of Mountain Dew Kickstart now.
Mountain Dew Kickstart operation successful.
You are now off the couch and out exploring the world.
Roger that.
Get charged up for what's coming next anytime, anywhere with Mountain Dew Kickstart. Available in 10 energizing flavors like mango lime, raspberry citrus, midnight grape, and orange citrus. Mountain Dew Kickstart. Fuel with flavor.
Refreshment Services Pepsi announces that Kiana Redding has been chosen Employee of the Month. An accounts receivable specialist, Kiana's determination, dedication to her work, and outstanding performance reflect the true spirit of Pepsi. Congratulations, Kiana.
I have known for some time now that some insurance companies are not exactly being truthful with their customers, stating such things as if you do not use one of their approved body shops, they will not guarantee the repairs, or it may cost you more out of pocket. Here at Lisa's Paint and Body Shop, the work we do is guaranteed for as long as you own your vehicle. Lisa's Paint and Body Shop, 385-2665.
License number MV46050.
Hey, Wally Woodham here. In 1974, I set the national high school passing record at Leon High with 3,560 yards.
Jimmy Jordan here. Wally, I broke your passing record at Leon the very next year.
Well, Jimmy, in our 3 years together at FSU, I threw for 22 touchdown passes.
Wally, that's pretty good, but I had 39.
Well, Jimmy, look at the deal I got at AAA Transmission.
That's a pretty good deal, Wally. At least your car's a winner.
Don't put off your auto repairs. Stop in at AAA Transmission and ask for owner Tim Pridgeon, servicing Tallahassee for over 30 years. AAA Transmission, 1023 North Monroe Street, or call them at 222-2532.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Tonight, we'll be at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. That's a good thing because we're all going to be sitting back watching Florida State baseball beginning at 7 o'clock at the CP on Appalachian Parkway. Workday, I got you, but if you feel like swinging by and getting yourself a tasty beverage while you watch the Vegas Wall, know that the Noles will be on, and a bunch of like-minded folk cheering them on will be there with you. Hopefully, obviously, Florida State's able to get it done. Hey, so given that, we wanted to talk to Trey Jones. He's out in Omaha, golf coach for Florida State, and my co-host on Beyond the Tips, Sirius XM. That show runs tonight at 9 o'clock. I get it. We're going to be watching baseball, and Trey's there. So we needed to record the show for Sirius XM, Sirius 93, XM 208. And so in doing that, I called Trey, and we got him on the horn this morning. And Tom and I kind of just decided to put that in the can. So I want you to be able to hear this because there's good stuff. Brooks Koepka, obviously, for those wondering what I'm talking about, prattling on about here, former Florida State golfer, won the U.S. Open. It's his first major. But he's not a secret, and he never really was. A lot of people on tour have been talking about Brooks for a time. We'll get to that part of it in a bit. But I wanted to know how he came to be at Florida State. The recruitment of Brooks Koepka, for example, and the famed temperament and all that stuff that goes into it. When did Trey first find him? I mean, these are the stories behind the stories of the U.S. Open champion. So Trey called in. We talked about that today. This is Trey Jones, golf coach, Florida State, talking about Brooks Koepka, U.S. Open champion.
Well, the first time I watched Brooks play was in Hilton Head at the Junior MCI Heritage or Verizon Heritage, whatever it's called now. And it was cold. It was really cold day, windy day. And he shot 43 on the 9 that I watched. And I was like, okay, it's not unlike to see a kid shoot that every once in a while. But temper wasn't very good. His mannerisms weren't very good. I went and watched Bud Colley, I think, for the next, and Morgan Hoffman were the other two I went to watch after that. And then I came back to the end of the day, and he shot 32 or 33 on his next 9. I was like, wow, that was a good comeback for him. So, that's good to see that a player can do that. Then, obviously, we watched him again the next day. But what turned us on Brooks, this is a crazy story, is we're hosting a tournament at the same time a Florida Junior Tour event was being played at Southwood Golf Club in Tallahassee. And he called and said, can I come in on a visit? Coming to play on this tournament. And we already had the number one player in the country coming in on a visit who was playing in the tournament, and Blaine Barber. And Blaine's a tour player as well right now. And we didn't want 3 because we figured we were only going to sign 2. And I said, well, it's kind of hard to ride around, Jeff, in a van with 3 people telling them you're going to sign 2. And they're all looking at each other on who's the odd guy out. And the other 2 were way more accomplished at this time. So I said, believe it or not, Brooks, I can't take you on the visit right now. Can you stay after the tournament, and we'll do your visit on Monday? And he said, yeah, I'll just stay after. So we had the visit on the first 2 guys. Didn't go quite as well, and that Friday of the visit was a practice round also for this junior tournament. Well, Brooks was waiting on the first tee for those 2 guys that he knew we were recruiting to play a practice round with. And so I went out and watched that practice round, and 4 or 5 holes in, I told my assistant, we're recruiting the wrong guy. And he said, come on, you kidding me? I said, no, we're recruiting the wrong guy. So we had made up our mind after that practice round that he had just jumped a few spots in our deal. After the tournament's over, he came in, and we met with him. I offered him right there on the spot. Really cool. He calls me from Orlando and says, Coach, you told me in your office that even though I'm not on a big scholarship, that you're going to give me the same opportunity to play as everyone else. That it doesn't matter if I'm not on a big scholarship, we're all the same. I said, Brooks, you're absolutely going to be all the same. He said, well, I'll beat them if you're going to give me the same chance, and I'm coming to Florida State. He said, I'm walking in the lid store at Millennium Mall, and I'm buying a Florida State hat. So that's how it happened, and wow, from that point on. And he did. He went from probably player ranked 30 or 40th in the country at best when he committed to, a top 5 to 10 player by the time he got into campus.
What did you see in the 5 holes of the practice round that made you realize you were recruiting the wrong guys?
Wow, that was a great question because that's one of my team's home courses. So, and I had a pretty good team. Drew Kittleson, Jonas Blixt on that team, Seth Lauer. And where Brooks was driving the ball was better than where they were driving it. And I'm like, okay, look, you don't really know that when you're out there watching a player play a golf course you're not familiar with. But being that it's one of our courses and I'm seeing where he's playing from, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's a 16, 17-year-old and he's driving it past where my college players are playing it right now.
For people who missed it, there have been a lot of really good articles written, and I would be unfair if I didn't reference the one in the New York Times in which you talk about Brooks's temper at that time, and I want to eventually get to him on the Pro Tour and over in Europe. But let me ask you first. First of all, I think a great compliment to you, Trey, is the fact that he called you after winning at Erin Hills and told you that he loved you and that he wouldn't be there without you. And that, by and large, had to do with you helping shape a different attitude on the course and change his demeanor, his comportment. And why? Can you give me an example of why that is so important when you have a fiery player? How do you go about also eliciting that kind of change?
I think there's different things about it. First of all, is it detrimental to their game? Is it something that they don't realize they're doing that's drawing negative energy away from what they need to be doing? And that's the first aspect. Is it something that just really, really keeping them from playing better? The second thing is a representation, and that representation's of the university and them and our team, and are they doing things that other people would deem to be okay? That's distracting. It's distracting to the other players in the group. It's a bad representation from there. So there's several different reasons, and I've always been one. I don't mind a player getting aggravated from hitting a bad shot. It's just how they handle it and what it externally, what comes out of that. So sure, I'm not saying if you hit a bad shot, you should smile and put your club in the bag all the time. Some people just are not wired that way. But with Brooks' deal, it was a little bit of everything. It wasn't helping his golf game. It would snowball into the next shot or next decision. And then it's also a representation issue from time to time. We knew that when he would be on tour, sorry about that he was going to be representing some manufacturers, and he was going to be representing great companies in the United States, and they want that representation as well. So just don't want any kind of negative press. And truthfully, Jeff, you've probably done it, and I've done it. Everybody's played golf done it, but I've never understood if you hit a bad shot why you want to draw attention to yourself. So you just gotta put it in the bag and go on.
But is there a methodology? I mean, I guess it's just player by player, right? The psychology of that has to be geared towards whatever their issue is. So I don't know if there's a blanket way you go about doing that as a coach. You've been coaching for a long time, Trey. You've had a lot of different kinds of personalities. I guess when you notice that in a player, what is it you go about doing to bring about the change?
Well, first of all, you video it, because they can't see it. And they don't understand what they look like. So we'll video it really, right there on the spot and play it back to them. We'll play it back to them in private. We'll have those conversations. Their peers will help a lot, too. Their teammates will come over to them and go, man, I saw you 2 fairways over. You looked awful. Your head was down. One of our mottos with the team is we want to walk like an athlete, head up, shoulders back. The energy from you will bleed into the other guys. The other guys play in your group. You don't play with them. So they're playing in your group when we tee off, and they need to look at the back of your shirt all day long as you're walking down the fairway. So those are just little mind things that are positive things that the energy will carry you through the day versus, nowadays you use different terminologies, and we'll sometimes use the cell phone battery. Say, okay, if your cell phone starts out at 100% and you're constantly pulling against it, you don't want to be at 10% going into the back nine or into the last 5 holes. You still want to be at 70 or 80%. So just ever how you have to get the point across.
That's interesting because by the way, this actually directly translated. I mean, from all the articles I've read, and of course I watched the U.S. Open, as did you, it seems most people were commenting on not just the length. The length is obvious. That's something to behold. But commenting on his demeanor and the pace in which he never sped things up. His gait remained the same even when he captured the lead. Even after the bogey, he kind of never really shifted or changed in his demeanor or his approach, facial expressions. How far has he come in that regard? Because that was something that was commented on by most of the people analyzing the U.S. Open.
And that's interesting. And just give credit to Brooks. Because you can analyze it all you want to. We can talk about it. Just give credit to him and him himself because he did it. He understands what he needs to do. He's a true professional now, the fact that he can do that. But also, Jeff, when you're driving it like he drove it and playing, there's not a whole lot not to smile about up there. So, it wasn't like he was teeing off at 8:05. And had the rights going that day. So, he had to go in where he wanted to go, and he was obviously putting it well. He told me on the phone that on Monday he felt like he was going to win the golf tournament.
Yeah, and and here's the thing. He was not a secret on the tour. There's you can listen tonight on Beyond the Tips. It starts at 9 o'clock on Sirius 93 XM 208, I think it is. Anyhow, that this story involving Ernie Els playing around a golf with him over in Europe 4 years ago, and Ernie Els walking off the course and telling a reporter that he had just played golf with the next great player. There's an article that was written about, it was a Q&A with Steve Williams, Tiger Woods' caddy, and he knows a little something about witnessing greatness, in which it's amazing as he's talking. He's mentioning all the things that caddies witness and once in a great while and things like this. A player will come around, and his exact quote is this: a player comes around who hits a golf ball the way it was meant to be hit. Powerful, piercing, perfect trajectory. Of the youngest players that are out here, one I've seen that has that special ball flight, Brooks Koepka. Adam and I, and he's talking about Adam Scott, Adam and I were paired with him at the Open Championship last year, and from his first tee shot on, I thought, this kid is special. Obviously, he's searching to find the rest of the game, the other parts of the puzzle for now, but I haven't seen a ball flight like that since Tiger Woods, and prior to that, Johnny Miller. Quote, unquote, from Steve Williams, Tiger's caddy, former caddy, and Adam Scott's current caddy. That's rather remarkable. And the other part of that is the fitness, right? There's been a lot of conversation about how Brooks looks compared to a lot of players on tour. And Trey was just kind of talking about, he's a big guy. He talks about how he's a big guy and 32-inch waist, 45-inch shoulders and all that. But, you and I, Tom, have had the conversation, and Tiger Woods is a case in point. We've worried about Rory McIlroy. Hasn't caught up to him yet with injuries or anything like that. But we worry about guys getting too big. But there is a change in attitude on tour about workouts and how you can get, size, gain size, while remaining limber and those kinds of things. It's out there, that school of thought.
Well, yeah, because obviously it's about the raw yardage you can cover when you're driving the ball. I saw an article coming out of the U.S. Open, and Jason Sobel penned the article. He's talking about, the old adage is you drive for show and you putt for dough, and that's just not the case anymore. How long these courses are, you have to drive at a certain rate.
You have to be able to hit it a long way.
Like Brian Harman, the runner-up in this Open, tied with, Matsuyama, played his guts out. He played so far over his head on a course that's not suited for his game.
Right.
That he had no prayer. If somebody can drive the ball as well as Brooks can, he can still be tied for 51st in putting for the weekend. That's what Brooks was.
And win.
You can argue a couple of different ways on this, though, as interpreting that stat. He hit all but 10 greens for the weekend, or 86.1%.
Over 4 days, yeah.
Over 4 days. He hit 29 of his final 30 greens.
He was tops in the field.
So, I mean, if you're going to be 25, 30 feet away because you hit every single green and you're not scrambling all that often, sure, you're going to take more putts.
Right.
But the point is, until Sunday on the back nine, Brooks Koepka wasn't putting the lights out of this tournament. He was just hitting fairways and hitting greens. But if he hits fairways while driving the ball on average over 320 yards for the tournament, well, he's entering greens with 9-iron when you're hitting 6 and 5-iron.
And his workout, by the way, includes deadlifts, barbell, Bulgarians, as they know them, box jumps, all these things that are part and parcel to a lot of modern workouts. He does
Sounds
all
familiar.
of that. Yes, they do. Thanks to our good friend Bill Fredericks. But, they do a lot of mobility and stability exercises to go with it, along with flexibility. So, there's a picture that made its way around the internet that on the Sunday of the final round, he's working out with Claude Harmon, Butch Harmon's son, who is one of his mini instructors, and they're lifting. He's doing incline bench press over 200 pounds on the bar. So obviously he's not backing off there. I've been told by Trey on numerous occasions that Brooks is a really, really disciplined guy when it comes to what he does pre-round. We always hear about, in the past, guys liking to rest and those kinds of things, Tom. He does not. He feels if he's got a late afternoon tee time, he goes in first thing in the morning, 7, sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning, and gets a full workout in, comes back, eats, rests then, but he gets some of that nervous energy out, and he feels fine by that afternoon. And that a lot of players are going to that model.
Well, I think the interesting thing about what the new golfer looks like, and there's so much literature about this if you're interested in it, about the training regimens and what's going to be the new standard. Rory came in and he was a lanky kid with an incredible amount of resistance built up in his backswing, and that's how he generated his club speed and hit the ball a mile. But, look at the film of Rory winning back in 11 at Congressional, and he boat races the field. He shoots 16 under for the tournament. That's the one that Brooks tied this past weekend. He's a scrawny kid who's got a little bit of muscle to him, but he's not the guy he is now, which is a little bit more hulking.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods, when he first started in the 1990s, when he played at Stanford, and then he won the U.S. Amateur, and then he
they're
plays
all
his early
skinny to
days.
start, yeah.
He's skinny, but then he bulks up over time. Brooks has emerged on the tour as somebody who is a little bit more built from the get-go.
Ready-made.
This is who he is. So, I think
So you think there's a difference, yeah. The key isn't that somebody's big. Is do you have the frame to be big? Were you always going to be big? Do you come in as a big guy?
Exactly. I'm not saying that Brooks was as cut here at Florida State as he is now on the professional tour. But what I'm saying is, it seems to me that his game is developing along with his physical traits and his strength. Whereas, somebody like a Rory and a Tiger, yeah, they're transforming their body for what reason? Why? Because sponsors want you to?
I don't think so. I think Rory's better off than Tiger was. Tiger got as big as a safety. I don't feel like Rory's there. He's a short, stout guy who's muscular, but he still hits it a mile and has that flexibility. We'll see if it hurts him down the line. I hope not.
Okay, now, grant you that, this guy was not nearly as successful as the other two. But take Sergio Garcia for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
He was a scrawny kid with all the ability, and he had the resistance built up because of incredible angles that he creates in his backswing and flexibility and all that. Has his body really changed all that much in his entire career?
He's more cut, but other than that, he's put on some hand weight, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes he actually gets a little portly more than anything else in the last 5-6 years. But look at the longevity of his career and the consistency of his health. Rory's had to bow out in and out of tournaments the last 2 or 3 years. I don't think that's any coincidence. His body was providing him genetically something that most aren't capable. Like Dustin Johnson, for example. And Trey talks about this tonight. I had the pleasure of hearing that earlier. But yeah, he is naturally a big dude. But when it comes to, chest and midsection.
Yeah, his midsection, he's lean.
He's a cyclist.
Well, he looks like a swimmer.
I think
he looks like a swimmer.
He's just a giant endurance athlete.
Forearms is what he has.
Right.
Yeah.
But he was gifted with something. You don't see him building out to become some sort of, action hero.
No, and I think you're right about that. It will be interesting to see what the tour is made up of now. If you look, Jason Day is built. All these guys are now in shape. They're at the very least in shape. You don't see too many Craig Stadlers on the tour these days. They exist, but they don't exist in near the numbers that they used to, where guys would just show up looking like John Daly, and it was kind of the norm. By the way, we asked Trey this question. In fact, why don't you play the clip? This is me talking about whether or not we're worried about Brooks getting too big. Brooks wasn't a secret to the people on tour.
Oh, absolutely not. No, you don't do what he's done and get to the tour the way he got to the tour without, being extremely impressive. And he's a physical guy. I mean, obviously, it's a guy when you walk by,
You can see, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking 32, 33-inch waist and about 45, 46-inch shoulders, and like I said, good hands, and he's a tough guy.
Do you worry he'll get too big? I mean, he's a big workout guy. That's been talked about an awful lot, and I think this is kind of a fair question. He and Dustin work out all the time, but Brooks is a big dude. You just said it. Do you worry he'll get too big?
I don't, because he's got a good trainer down there. They know the ultimate goal. He will get in there and compete with Dustin, but when I met Dustin, a month ago down at the Bears Club, I was amazed at Dustin. His body was truly a golf body, in the fact that he has huge, gigantic arms. Forearms look like legs, and he didn't have much of a chest at all, no pecs or anything, and so he's making sure he's doing the right things, and Brooks will make sure he's doing the flexibility after each exercise. He knows ultimately what he wants to do, and he won't get caught up in the mirror muscles, I don't believe.
Yeah, and he brings that up because, again, you talk about a golfer's physique and the opportunity to meet these guys that do all of that training, and also because Brooks Koepka trains with Dustin Johnson using the exact same coaches that Dustin Johnson uses, and Dustin has been using them for years, and you see it hasn't adversely affected him. So he's doing the same thing. It's just Brooks is built different. He's a thicker dude, to your point. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Trey Jones. If you want to hear more of it tonight on Beyond the Tips, you can, Sirius XM. It starts at 9 o'clock. We'll be watching the baseball game, hence the reason we pre-recorded that. Come back, wrap it up.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck, always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
End their season. If they do, they'll take on Oregon State on Friday afternoon. Last night in Omaha, it was TCU 4-1 over Texas A&M. The Aggie season has come to a close, and the Florida Gators continue to win. They've not lost yet in Omaha, a 5-1 winner over Louisville. So now, for the Florida Gators, they will play on Friday evening. They'll take on the winner of TCU and Louisville. NBA wheelings and dealings ahead of the draft on Thursday. Dwight Howard is on the move again. The Atlanta native has been traded by the Hawks to Charlotte, while the Lakers send D'Angelo Russell to the Brooklyn Nets.
Don't just listen to The Jeff Cameron Show. Watch it live. The Jeff Cameron Show Streamcast. Live weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. Head to ESPNTallahassee.com today to watch live or catch up on demand. The Jeff Cameron Show Streamcast. Brought to you by Nice Tire and Auto, your trusted Goodyear dealer. 574-4100. And presented by TNT Supercenter in Thomasville, Georgia. And Franklin Spring Creek Ford.
Bill Street Service, we go out on a limb for you.
Hey, this is Clay Culpepper with Miller's Tree Service. Summertime is here and storm season is right around the corner. We offer free consultations with a certified arborist where we meet with you and advise you on which trees are healthy, diseased, dead, or ones that may need trimming or even removal.
Miller's Tree Service, we go out on land for you.
Give us a call at 894-TREE.
Barry knows cool, he's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool, you can put him to the test.
Spring is the perfect time to be outdoors enjoying the fresh air with friends and family. It's also the right time to make sure your air conditioning system is ready for the hot summer. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air to learn more about your financing options for every budget. Visit us today at baranoac.com. License number CAC 057652.
Did you know that June is National Rose Month, National Camping Month, National Great Outdoors Month, and at TNT Supercenter in Thomasville, June is Make Your Own Golf Cart and Get It Delivered Free Month. This month at TNT Supercenter, with any golf cart purchase of at least $2,500, they will deliver your cart for free within a 50-mile radius of the store, and you'll also get $500 worth of free Mad Jax accessories. Choose from hundreds of items in the Mad Jax catalog, including rear seat kits, light kits, lift kits, wheels, tires, you name it, Mad Jax has it. New carts, pre-owned carts, club cars, Yamaha, and the very cool Star EV carts. If you like the sound of that, you will love the sound of a 4-year warranty on loaded brand new carts, starting at just $49.99. Trade-ins are welcome, and TNT Supercenter is offering financing with 0 down, and when you buy a club car, 0% with approved credit, plus free delivery within a 50-mile radius. TNT Supercenter, US 19 South, next to Dairy Queen in Thomasville, and online at TNTSupercenter.com.
Parker Brothers Roofing says don't play games with your roof. Protect your home and your family. The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. We'll fix your roof, 'cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
Customers constantly tell us that they're getting several estimates to compare apples to apples. You ever bite into an apple and find out the inside is rotten? Cheap roofing quotes are just like that rotten apple. Quote looks shiny and delicious because it's the cheapest, right? But you wind up with that rotten apple that leaks or starts to fail immediately. All roofing quotes are not equal. Cheap estimates equal cheap materials, subpar labor, or both. For quality that lasts, call us at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
I guess as we conclude, we've talked about it on and off throughout the day, but strangely, I feel good. Feel all right about tonight's game. I think LSU's pitching is not in as good a place right now. Florida State going with Sands for those that didn't tune in earlier, but obviously Carp's available right away if you need him. It's an elimination game. I don't think either team will fool around here. If there are signs of stress, Florida State's got a guy they can go to that started games this year and has looked very effective at times.
It has not been confirmed or anything, but you would assume, should you win the night, then you can flip the rotation again, and Mr. Holton would be available on Friday. So, whoever it takes to get through tonight, that's who they're going to go to.
Yeah, and what we do know, Tom, it's daunting, but I mean, here's the thing. You can't worry about whether or not you can take 2 from Oregon State, who's just been steady beating all of college baseball for the course of a season now. You got to win tonight's game. And if you do, well, I mean, look, no matter who was going to pitch, in this case, you're right, it would be Holton. It was going to be a daunting task, but you don't feel awful. I mean, you feel like, okay, well, Florida State's good enough to beat anybody 2 straight if Holton pitches well and and Parrish turns around and pitches well after him. I mean, it's possible. It's not even that big a stretch.
No, it's not.
It may not be likely. The odds aren't in their favor to do that, but that would be true of anybody against Oregon State right now.
anybody at all.
Yeah,
like anybody with a pulse.
Anybody. It doesn't matter, right?
Certainly the entirety of the other half of the freaking bracket.
Which does feel like a cakewalk, figures.
It does. But, yeah, if you can chase Poche tonight, that's the thing. I mean, he's a guy who's given them 100 innings. He's got the most wins, for whatever that means in college baseball, of any pitcher in LSU history. But, he's a bona fide starter that gave him 2 2/3 of relief that they sorely needed. And he's a senior. So, it's somebody who's been in the big moments for a big-time program. But if you can get past him, if you can force him to exit the game, then all of a sudden, yeah, I think the depth of what we can offer puts us in a big way in the favor.
11-3 with a 3.33. But, again, the kid that started for Cal State Fullerton was their horse, and you felt like he was a guy – well, he wasn't their horse, but he was their next in line, and people loved him, and he had pitched exceptionally well in the postseason, 16-something innings we had seen of, I think, one-run baseball, and he really, I think, struggled with Florida State's discipline.
Well, yeah.
That's the whole thing here. They're going to make you beat them.
They hit Fullerton's guy. I mean, they hit Lang fairly well.
I thought they hit him well.
On Saturday night, and you go back to Super Regional Game 2. I know that was on again, off again with the delay, so that's really hard. But that was, Sam Houston State's #1 starter. They saved him for Game 2. That was the kid with the sub-2 ERA, and we lit that kid up, and he exited the game quickly. You go back to McKay and the success Florida State's had against McKay at Louisville.
Well, after one great start McKay had against Florida State the first time out, he's been really just tattooed by FSU.
I think all at once, just because you're in the College World Series doesn't mean that the team you're playing isn't more qualified or better than other teams that you've played before, but they're also battle-tested to get to that point. So, if you can – they're not in the same headspace that we are. We're actually, in a 1-1 positive headspace. They're in a 1-1 what the hell just happened to us headspace. So, yeah, if you can boot their starter off the mound early in this game, then all of a sudden, man, oh, man, we could be playing Oregon State, and we got to win 2 in a row, and then all of a sudden the questions get even better and bigger.
Elimination game, baby. And, again, I don't want to saddle others with what I think their expectations ought to be of a successful season or campaign, but I will be honest with you about mine. This team already made the College World Series, which at one point, 21-15, the season was an unmitigated disaster. After having very lofty expectations, they were failing around every turn for a variety of reasons. But if by season's end, I tell you in the midst of all of that, Florida State is to get hot at just the right time, get relatively healthy at just the right time, win a road series at a place in which people don't win, and then turn around and win the ACC tournament, and successfully host and win a regional and host and win a sub-regional, and survive to the weekend, week after the College World Series starts, and garner 2 wins in the CWS. I just think it's really hard to make an argument against the fact that this has been a great season. Not a good season, but a great season. I mean, they will have rectified it. They will have emerged from the ashes of some middling campaign, but it all adds up to a great season. It feels like a win tonight equals that to me.
Sure, and it's one that's been sorely needed. It's been 5 years since this program has been to Omaha. That's long enough. And it's a season in which, you were in the depths. And we were talking about, well, what's the health of the program really like if we're getting out-recruited in our own state and we don't seem to have, the depth of pitching and talent that we once did, that we don't run the bases well, we don't play good defense. And then you're here. They fight through all of that. They overcome some of those problems. Some kids just got better. But they've overcome some of these other problems that are still prevalent to this day. See, sometimes the defense and certainly the base running consistently.
You got a problem with 3 errors on one play that cost you a game?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's just you, buddy.
Call me the black sheep here at the Jeff Cameron Show.
Yeah.
But it's a season that's been sorely needed. And listen, I don't expect them to lose tonight. And I'm not going to be happy if they lose tonight. This isn't a defeatist way of evaluating what's about to happen or what would happen on Friday or Saturday.
It feels like there's a lot on the line. It's not just the fact that it's an elimination game. I'm not going to tell you that if they lose tonight, I feel like the season's a failure, but I'll feel a hell of a lot better if they win tonight. I mean, I almost feel like you're playing with house money if you win tonight. After that, you're kind of like, well, honestly, I mean, they're playing the #1 team in the country, hasn't lost a game in forever. Okay, maybe it doesn't go their way. I'll live with that.
Maybe it doesn't, but if it's going to take every 5 years to get out here, then this is Martin's last stand, and let's go. Let's go get it.
And because of the fact that they've played well when they've had their backs against the wall, I actually tonight at the Corner Pocket in about an hour feel pretty good about their chances. I do. I told you I felt pretty good about their chances in game 1, too. And frankly, they should have won that game, period. They just should have. I mean, they had the lead the whole way and found a way to throw it away. Maybe that happens again tonight. I don't know. But I feel pretty good going into it. And I imagine, frankly, I guess it's more important than how I feel that they do, too.
Well, again, too, just from an entertainment standpoint, I think what's been really great about this 1 month run, really, for this club is there are a lot of close games, a lot of really tightly contested games where your heart's in your throat.
I like 19-0 more, Tom.
Haven't won them all. But they've been well-played baseball games. You know, for somebody who grew up a fan of the professional game, this is not an embarrassment to somebody who's conditioned to watch professional baseball. So, again, if you're still on the fence and you want – maybe there is another 3-hour play in the midst of tonight's proceedings. But by and large, you're watching good quality baseball that resembles the game that you grew up watching. If you're a lifelong Braves fan that doesn't care two ways about college baseball, what the hell else are you watching tonight? Give it a shot. Why not come up to the corner pocket and have a beer?
There it is. Boom. Spoken like a wonderful salesman.
For the game and for the corner
for the establishment. Good work out of you. Our thanks to Trey Jones as well. Good job, Matthew. By the way, the front row is coming up next. And Phil Steele is going to, I think, join the boys on the front row. Phil Steele already joining people. Already making the rounds.
The magazine is out, sir.
Always is. And you need it to come out now because it'll take you from now until the first game to read the whole damn thing. Good Lord, Phil. Appreciate you. But who wins on a Thursday night when the wind's blowing due north and a full moon is probably not necessary. I mean, we could pare that thing down a little bit. Go Noles! We'll talk to you tomorrow.